Welcome to the Bakersfield City Council meeting. This television broadcast is brought to you by the local cable companies, the County of Kern, and the City of Bakersfield. You can watch the rebroadcast of this meeting Saturday at 7 p.m., Sunday at 10 a.m., and the following Wednesday at 7 p.m. You can download the agenda for this meeting at www.bakersfieldcity.us. Presiding over this evening's meeting, the Honorable Mayor Karen K. Go.
Good evening. It's my pleasure to call to order the 5:15 regular City Council meeting of June 10th, 2026. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Mayor Go.
Here.
Vice Mayor Core.
Here.
Councilmember Arias.
Here.
Councilmember Gonzalez.
Here.
Councilmember Weir.
Here.
Councilmember Smith.
I'm here.
Councilmember Coman.
Here.
And Councilmember Bashir Tosh.
Here.
Thank you. Welcome to all of you. It's great to see the chambers full, many people engaging in the civic process. Tonight we have interpreters for Spanish and Punjabi. So at this time, I'd like to ask that you come up very quickly to let the audience know that equipment is available in both Spanish and Punjabi.
Spanish simultaneous interpreters here tonight. We just ask if you are going to participate or give a public comment, if you can speak.
Can you say it in Spanish, please?
Hola, buenas tardes. Mi nombre es Priscila. Somos parte del equipo de interpretación esta tarde. Solamente les pedimos de que si tienen algún comentario o alguna participación, hablen con un ritmo moderado y hablen directamente al micrófono. Gracias.
Thank you.
ਸਤਿ ਸ਼੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਜੇ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਅੰਗਰੇਜ਼ੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਸਮਝ ਆਉਂਦੀ ਸਾਡੇ ਕੋਲ ਪਿੱਛੇ ਹੈਗੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਹੈਡਸੈਟ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਦੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸੁਣਨਾ ਤੇ ਦੱਸ ਦਿਓ ਥੈਂਕ ਯੂ
Thank you. And this evening we have the pleasure of having Pastor Joseph Jordan, who's the pastor of Christ First Ministry, to lead us in the invocation. Pastor Jordan has been a BPD chaplain for quite a while and many years involved in local civic initiatives. Pastor, thank you so much for your efforts on gang prevention, intervention, and I've seen you out in that community for years and years. You've been there where it wasn't cool to do this, and you have given yourself so fully to our community. We really appreciate that. Following the invocation, we have the pleasure of having Liliana Gonzalez, who's an 8th grader at Sierra Middle School, to lead us in the pledge. She was recently named Boys and Girls Club of Kern County's Ford Junior Youth of the Year. It was a surprise to her, but so well deserved. She's a member of the Sierra Middle School band, plays the percussion, member of the Sierra Spartans basketball team, and she has been described by her friends and other people as bright, kind, polite, responsible, and she always approaches opportunities that push her out of her comfort zone in a very positive way. We're so glad to have both of you here. Would you all please stand for the invocation?
Let us pray. Gracious and eternal God, we come before your throne of grace and mercy this evening, thanking you for all the many blessings you bestowed upon us, asking if you would lead, guide, and direct this meeting into decency, clarity, and understanding. Father God, we ask if you would wrap your loving arms around this city, protecting our leaders, law enforcement, from all hurt, harm, and danger. And Father God, we give you praise, honor, and glory for that. In Christ's name, and we all say it. Thank God and amen. Thank you.
Liliana.
Salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, and you may be seated, Pastor. Thank you, Liliana. Thank you. And do you want to introduce whoever's with you, a very important person in your life, real quickly? Yes, your mom. Just introduce her.
Okay, well, this is my mom.
We're glad to have you, Mom. Mom has produced the Ford Junior Youth of the Year. Thank you so much, Mom. Appreciate it. Here are a few guidelines to help our meeting run smoothly. We request that you turn off your phones. Please be courteous in the use of cameras and videos. For safety reasons and as a courtesy to others, no signs are allowed in the council chamber or in the lobby. Applause is allowed during the presentations portion of the meeting, but not during any other portion of the meeting. Everyone in attendance is expected to adhere to the rules of decorum established by resolution of the City Council. Failure to abide by the city's rules of decorum, including any disruptive behavior that interferes with our ability to have an orderly and efficient meeting, prevents the City Council from conducting the business of the city. Consider this a first warning to everyone in attendance that conduct that disrupts this meeting may result in expulsion and/or the chambers being cleared. Behavior that disrupts the meeting includes repetitive statements, shouting, hate speech, interrupting staff or presenters during the meeting, speaking out of turn, and outbursts from the audience. Madam Clerk, next item, please.
Proclamation or presentations item 4A, proclamation to Maravik Louis, Vice President of the Boys and Girls Club of Kern County Board of Directors, declaring the week of June 22nd, 2026 as National Boys and Girls Week in Bakersfield and celebrating the 60th anniversary of the Boys and Girls Club of Kern County.
Colleagues, today we celebrate a monumental achievement in our community. Our Boys and Girls Club of Kern County turns 60. We are so grateful to you for your continued efforts to empower our young people to reach their full potential and prepare them for the future. We have the pleasure in Kern County of having the largest Boys and Girls Club organization in our state and the third largest in our nation. Boys and Girls Club of Kern County employs more than 500 people, operating 56 sites and serving more than 13,000 young people daily. That's a lot of people. Thank you so much to our board member, Maravik. She's going to introduce others. Thank you to Zane Smith, who's the executive director of Boys and Girls Club. And it's my honor to issue this proclamation. Whereas the young people of Bakersfield are the leaders of today and tomorrow, and many young people need professional youth services to guide them to reach their full potential. And whereas Boys and Girls Club in our city helps to ensure that our young people are occupied by offering them a safe and supportive refuge, one that provides quality programs. And whereas Boys and Girls Club of Kern County will celebrate National Boys and Girls Club Week, along with 5,000 clubs and more than 4 million young people nationwide. Now, therefore, I, Karen Go, Mayor of the City of Bakersfield, do hereby proclaim June 22nd to June 26, 2026 as National Boys and Girls Club Week in our city and call upon our citizens to join in recognizing the Boys and Girls Clubs of Kern County for providing comprehensive, effective, and quality services to our young people. And it's my honor to be able to present this to Maravik Louis, and if you will introduce your guests also, and feel free to offer comments. Come on up here, Maravik.
Thank you very much, Mayor Go, City Council, and guests. With me tonight is our Kern County Youth of the Year, Shara Castillo, and she'll offer a couple comments in a second. Before anything, I am here on behalf of the Boys and Girls Club of Kern County, and we are extremely grateful for this recognition and proclamation. This year, we are celebrating our 60th anniversary. We started back in 1966 with only 25 kids, and today we serve over 17,000 kids across Kern County, from Arvin to Lamont to Fraser Park to Tehachapi. We are in partnership with 14 school districts, and we are in 75 school sites. Our programs extend beyond academics. We provide arts, school, sports, music, and theater, and we're also doing a work readiness program to help prepare our kids for a career when they graduate from high school. They're in internships with multiple companies right now. We are just really grateful for this opportunity and support of the community, and we're proud of our impact. Thank you. Shira.
Good evening. My name is Shayra Castillo, and I'm 16 years old, and I am a part of the Boys and Girls Club for about 2 years now. And although I didn't really prepare anything because I wasn't expecting to speak in front of all of you, I just want
Doing great, right?
I really want to give my thanks for having this opportunity for this proclamation saying that we have everybody in the city to be able to say that the Boys and Girls Club has made an impact within the youth. And me being here, it shows that there has been an impact, that I had the opportunity to really learn a lot from the club, and I really hope that other teens and other youth who are in Bakersfield will be able to really experience that during that week that you guys have given us. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Give it up to the boys and girls. Madam Clerk, next item, please.
Presentations, item 4B, recognition of local, state, and federal responding agencies for their service during the hostage incident. Dr. John Mendeburo, Kern County Superintendent of Schools.
On June 2nd, the unimaginable happened in our community. But we are so grateful for the way our community unites. We have such wonderful community partners and then people across our nation, across our state, coming together. And it's my pleasure to turn this over to Dr. John Mendeburo, Superintendent.
Thank you, Mayor Go. I would like to also thank the City Council and City Manager Christian Clegg for allowing me to take some time here at the beginning of your meeting to express gratitude on behalf of the Kern County Superintendent of Schools family. Just know that the 10 hostages are now free, as you know, and they are back with their family, and that's where they need to be for the time being. They are getting 24-hour 7 days a week care. The support and the resources that they need is given to them upon whatever they need to ensure that they are safe and that they could get through this. We are also offering services to all of the KCSOS family during this time period who experiences any drama or trauma due to this. But I do want to also commend the efforts of the local city police department, Chief Stratton, Assistant Chief Blakemore, Captain Croker, who led all of the efforts, all of the agencies, the fire department, Hall Ambulance, behavioral health, you name it, they were there. Upon a finger snap, they were there. And the collaboration and the consistency that they did was amazing. And bringing in the federal agencies, it was like everybody worked, well, they all worked well together, but it was like they had done this before, and unfortunately, this is an event that you never wish upon anyone, nor hope anyone has to deal with this ever again. But just know that the city of Bakersfield shined on that evening, and the employees extremely appreciated the compassion and the collaboration and the dedication that all of the agencies provided. So on behalf of the Kern County Superintendent of Schools Office, the families of the Kern County Superintendent of Schools Office, thank you to the city of Bakersfield for preparing and providing the resources for our agencies to do what they need to do in a time of crisis. So thank you.
Thank you. I have another comment. Thank you, Dr. Mendeburo. We are so blessed to have you at the helm. You stayed there all night. I had to pull that out of him. stay there all night. And then there was an event right after that, and you were willing to hang in there, and we went to a community celebration. But the resources that KCSOS provided also made such a difference. I heard such positive comments from the FBI person who was there, the agent who supported this effort, and he says there's no place like Bakersfield. He was just going on and on with accolades about the Bakersfield team and how KCSOS, our local BPD, and other agencies all came together. We all worked together. We couldn't be any prouder of our community, all of our residents who expressed such concern and such support. But to you leading the helm, thank you so much for all that you did. God bless you, and we're proud of you. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
He was there all night. Next item, public statements. In keeping with Council's resolution, the public statements portion is divided into two periods. There's a period for items listed on the meeting agenda and items not on the meeting agenda. Statements for items listed on tonight's agenda are given a 2-minute time limit, 20 minutes total per agenda item. The consent calendar as a whole constitutes one agenda item. Statements regarding items not listed on the agenda are given a 2-minute limit, 20 minutes total. If you have written comments that are longer than your verbal statement, please give them to the city clerk, who will give copies to the council. If you're here to make a public statement, please fill out a public speaker card and give your completed card to the city clerk. You can put it right there in the tray. We ask that you mark whether you're here to speak on an item listed on tonight's agenda or on a matter not on the agenda. Speakers who do not identify a specific agenda item will be resumed speakers for the non-agenda portion and will be called during the non-agenda portion of the meeting. If you're here to speak on consent calendar public hearing items 7A through C, or public hearing items 8A, that's the budget, now is not the time to speak. You'll be given an opportunity to speak when those items are called later in the meeting. Madam Clerk, do we have any public speakers regarding items not listed on the agenda?
Mayor Go, we've received 14 speaker cards regarding items not listed on tonight's agenda. The first 3 public speakers are Devin Johnson, David Williams, and Eric Zacharias.
That's a lot of speakers who want to share with us. So I'm going to ask that you try to move things along as quickly, because we can't get to all 14 within the limited time if everybody uses 2 full minutes. So the city clerk will call you up, and if you can just be prepared for for the item, and then move the mic to your height, please. Go ahead.
Devin
Mr. Johnson?
Good evening. I'm here to speak regarding the matter of the April 19, 2021 stipulated judgment that the City of Bakersfield and the Bakersfield Police Department agreed to various reforms that the police department were going to do to abide by our constitutional rights as a black community due to the irreparable damage that was done over a long process of time. I appreciate the reforms that the BPD are implementing. I think it's a good thing, but I think it's unfair that the BPD be the only one held accountable for the damage that was done to the black community, specifically the Mayflower and Carnation Tract area. Studying the events of the past, it was a coordinated event done in concert with the City of Bakersfield, the judicial system, including the DA's office, the judges, public defender's office, our city school systems, through the prisoner pipeline system, that totally decimated our community out there. And like I say, I appreciate the BPD making their reforms, but I'm here to ask, what reforms are y'all gonna make? What are y'all gonna do to repair the damage that was done to our community? I asked that of the same of our school systems. What reforms are they gonna make? I asked the same of our judicial system. What reforms are they going to make? Why are they the only ones being held responsible? I do understand they were the teeth of the beast. I do understand that, but the teeth had a body. and that body is this panel right here. Maybe you weren't in office at the time, but you're left with the residue of that's damaged. And if you look at our community now, it's damaged. We got fentanyl walking down the street. We got unemployment high, homelessness. We have been decimated. No, you're not solely responsible. We hold ourselves accountable also. But now, by you guys being our civic leaders, being the leader, the scepter of rulership around here, what are y'all gonna do to reform? And if you look at the community right now, it's not all black anymore.
Mr. Johnson, thank you for your comments.
Is
Your
that 2
time
minutes
is up.
Wow, that went quick.
Thank you. The time does go by quickly. Oh, just a reminder, public, this is the portion of the meeting where applause is no longer allowed. We've finished the presentations portion. I know you're passionate, but we'll just let speakers speak, and then we'll move on to the next, please. Next speaker, please.
David Williams, followed by Eric Zacharias, followed by Amanda Blumel.
My name is David Williams. I'd like to yield my time to Devon Johnson.
We don't do it. That's not allowed. So, Mr. Williams, you're welcome to speak.
He's a recent stroke victim.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. You're going to speak on behalf of Mr. Williams.
Yes,
Is that
ma'am.
right? Okay, go ahead.
Y'all so quick to tell us no. Thank you, Mr. Williams. He's a recent victim of a stroke. Wish for your health. Now, with that being said, I was here last week, and we were having trouble finding funding for our Martin Luther King Center. I don't know if y'all are aware of our cult classic in the community, Friday, when the mom's is sending Craig to the store, and he said, "Mom, there's not enough money." And she said, "Make it enough." Y'all owe us. Y'all owe us. The damage that was done to us, it ain't solely on their hands, because you guys worked in concert. They could not have done the damage they were allowed to do, if they didn't have the support of the city, the support of the judicial branch, and the support of the school system, and even our own minister alliances that were supposed to be representing us as a community. Y'all owe us. So we need to come together. We need to come up with some solutions, some real feasible ones that's going to get our community back on the right track. I think we all can feel the same way about that. We got a serious problem going on out there. The gang violence has swelled down, so we can't put it all on the gangs now. Now we're dealing with the aftermath. So with that being said, we want to work in partnership. We don't want to fight with the city. We want to work in continuity. We want to be included. We want to be inclusive. And we just want to have those opportunities. So when we phone you, make phone calls for meetings and want to talk, don't blow us off. Make the time for us. Come speak with us. Because we're the only ones that can tell you what we really need and what we need to have to fix our community. How much time I got left?
You're just about finished. 12
Okay,
seconds. Thank you, and thank you for speaking. And next speaker, please. Mr.
Eric?
Williams, very sorry about your stroke, and I know you've worked on behalf of our community for many years.
Eric Zachariah, followed by Amanda Blumel, followed by Bill Cooper.
Good evening, council members. Thank you for taking the time to listen to my statement. I am Eric Zacarias, the son of Omar Zacarias and Silvia Reyes. Omar and Silvia were 49 and 51, respectively, at the time of their deaths on April 23, 2026. We had just celebrated my mother's 51st birthday exactly 1 week before the crash. We had celebrated my father's birthday 2 months prior to that. My parents had celebrated the 25th anniversary 2 months prior to that in December of 2025. I need everyone present to listen to the chaos and pain that was brought upon my family and I the Thursday when my entire world came crashing down on me. What this letter contains does not reach the extent of my parents' lives experiences. I can only hope to reveal their accomplishments as parents, spouses, neighbors, friends, and family in the short time I have allotted. My father gave up on completing his education to help earn enough money to keep food on the table. He worked late nights and slowly learned about the industry he wanted to work in through hands-on experience and asking questions. My mother was the light of my life, my biggest supporter, and the hardest worker I knew. She loved learning new recipes, traveling to different countries, and meeting new people. She was more timid than most, but when you became close with her, she was the brightest in the room, keeping everyone in high spirits. Even after facing so much loss in her life, she would keep her head held high and would appreciate life even deeper. My parents were always generous and compassionate, donating food, money, and clothing to the homeless and those who needed the help. They taught me from a young age that we have to work hard to make a living to protect those we love, but we cannot reach true happiness without supporting and giving back to the community that gave us that opportunity in the first place. Ever since then, my only true goal in life has been to earn enough money to help out those who, just like me, are working their way up their education, career, or family life. My mother, father, and I have always seen how people blow right through the stop signs at the intersection of Harris Road and Summer Springs Drive. We have seen how many accidents have occurred and how many people have been injured. I studied at the elementary school on the corner and grew up learning how dangerous it is and saw it change from one crossing guard to two. I know any changes this petition would bring forth will not bring my parents back. I know there is no nightmare to wake up from, and that my life has been forever changed by this event. I only hope to provide safety to the rest of the community so that no one else has to go through the same loss that I now have to learn to live with. Thank you.
Mr. Zacharias, very sorry for your loss. Vice Mayor.
I am so incredibly sorry for your loss, your family's loss, and I continue to thank you, your family, your neighbors who come every week to advocate for that neighborhood. And I want to ask our city administration where we are today on the work that we're doing on Harris Road, and if you can provide both the family of the victims as well as the public of where we are today.
Vice Mayor, just a few updates. We've shared some of these before, but to reiterate, we have placed a vehicle radar sign on Harris Road. We have also conducted some additional enforcement in the short term in that area. We've started a traffic study for that area so that we can look at the long-term solutions that may change the circulation and the speeds in that area. But those traffic studies do take a little bit of time, and if Mr. Meyer has more information on that, he can share that. But we have started that process for the more midterm solutions, but some of the short-term solutions we've had in place now for about 4 weeks.
Yes, just to add on, staff is reviewing, and we will start a redesign of that, not just that intersection, but the whole corridor. And it's something that our current goal is to try to get that resurfacing and restriping done by the end of next fiscal year.
Thank you. We are going to redesign that road. Speed kills, and it's, of course, on all of us, and we're going to do our part to make sure that we meet our responsibility, and you have our commitment to that, as you just heard. So we will continue to work with the community and the city working together, and we're going to use Harris Road and the unfortunate tragic accident that happened, but I want to thank you for using it as an opportunity to advocate for your neighbors, for the school, for the children that attend that school, so that we can use that in other parts of the city, around other schools and other neighborhoods. So thank you for having the courage to come today to share with us.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, next speaker.
Amanda Blumel, followed by Bill Cooper, followed by Karen Evans.
Thank you. We have 20 people who wish to speak during this time, and we have 20 minutes total. So I'm going to ask that you try to move through as quickly. Some of you come week after week on the same topic. We certainly appreciate your participation, but we've heard you, and so if you can keep it as succinct so we can get to as many people as possible. Thank you.
I promise to make this really quick. First of all, good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and members of the City Council. My name again is Amanda Blumel, and I'm here once again regarding the intersection of Harris Road and Summer Springs Drive. First, I really want to thank the City of Bakersfield for the actions that have been taken so far, for the road striping and the improvements for the light and everything else that has been done. As residents, we all appreciate those efforts and the time the city staff and council members have devoted to this issue. I just want, as it was stated, that how we're going to plan on this, just know that we are still seeing issues with people still driving very quickly and not stopping at that four-way intersection. And the police, they were out regularly in the beginning, and now we're seeing less of them. So I just want to make sure that we're not forgotten, and that I'm here every month, every 2 weeks to advocate for my neighborhood and for my community. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Bill Cooper, followed by Karen Evans, followed by Carter Beardsley.
Welcome. Please introduce yourself.
I'm Bill Cooper, 5826 Riggs Court in Bakersfield. I grew up near the river. I'm here to representing Bring Back the Kern, a subcommittee of the Kern River Parkway Foundation. I grew up along the river in Bakersfield. It used to be an open space recreational area, a lot of activities, but it was safe. It was relatively safe. Parents allowed their children to go down there unsupervised. Kids rode horses, swam in that river. It was a pretty nice place to be through the 50s and 60s. As more water became diverted, got diverted, it started to deteriorate, loss of vegetation. Of course, the water's gone. You started seeing camps. The place just deteriorated in over a period of years to some of the problems we see right now. But we have a Kern River plan, and the recent release of the minimal flow of water that's in the river right now in the urban area shows how resilient this river can be. If you go down there right now, you'll see that the vegetation is trying to come back, and it can be a lot different. We had the Kern River Plan was adopted in 1985. We're still waiting for full implementation of that. It's an element. I assume it's still an element of the general plan. We encourage this council to direct staff to work towards implementing the Kern River Plan in full, and to restore this river and bring the parkway to fruition. It's been 50 years since our group formed, and I'd like to live to see it implemented. So, but anyway.
Mr. Cooper, your time is up.
Okay.
Would you bring your comments to a close,
Thank you for the water.
Thank you. Madam Clerk.
Karen Evans, followed by Carter Beardsley, followed by Sharon Brill.
Hello, everybody. My name is Karen Evans, and I'm here to represent the Kern Audubon Society. We've grown from 75 members to 129 members in the last several years, so I wanted to make a comment about the trees and the tree canopy in Bakersfield, how important they are to birds and birders alike. I'm here. There will be other people I know tonight speaking that know a lot more about the way the trees are structured and the way that they can be kept healthy, but I want you to know that the Kern Audubon Society spends a lot of time at our local parks. We vote a lot because we're older people, and we also like to see our parks healthy and more birds. The more trees there are, the more birds there are. You have several birds in this area that actually provide some tourist attraction. Our rose-ringed parakeets, for example, and they love big, healthy sycamore trees. So every time a birder sees one of those trees being cut down or altered in any way, they get mad and they email the Kern Audubon Society. So I just wanted to put our public comment out there for Kern Audubon Society. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Evans. Next speaker, please.
Carter Beardsley, followed by Sharon Brill, followed by Lori Pesante.
Hi, Council. I'll make this very quick because I know that we don't have much time. But if you haven't read the book, The Lorax, I highly encourage it. It tells you what happens when we cut down all of the trees. And there's a part in the book where it talks about the Lorax kind of rising from this stump, and the stump says, unless. And it signifies that unless we do something, nothing will get better. These trees are more than just greenery that is pretty to look at. It's also the very air that we breathe. And when Kern County, our community, ranks the lowest when it comes to air quality, and there's something very beautiful that we can do about it, we can plant a bunch of trees. The birds are happy, the kids are happy, everyone's happy. Trees are a good thing.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Sharon Brill, Lori Pesante, followed by Ancha Lauer, followed by Terry Maxwell.
Good evening, city leadership. My name is Lori Pesante, and I am the director of the Kern Cahuilla chapter of the Sierra Club, which next year we will celebrate 75 years as a Sierra Club chapter. 75. 15 years before the Boys and Girls Club. Just note that for the record. I'm here tonight to recognize that in that 75 years, the Sierra Club, like tonight, has been exploring, enjoying, and protecting the outdoors in our area and Kings County and Tulare County as well. And I am here tonight to deliver the petition with over 500 signatures on it. There's still time to sign it and get involved in standing for the trees on change.org. Just look for Bakersfield Tree Canopy and you'll find it there with all the details of our petition in it. I want to note two things first, though. It is critical infrastructure, and the Sierra Club members and supporters have been coming here for a very long time, giving really, really good expert recommendations on how to have a plan, and we have had a plan. There are many reasons why it has not been adopted. The petition asks you to adopt a plan, but the two reasons that I think are critically important to understand, and for everybody who can hear my voice to understand this, is that the air quality, it's not just coming in from the Bay Area, okay? I know everybody likes to think that, but we've had CARB do studies on this. There have been source appropriation studies done on this. It is local. It is oil and gas. It is big ag. It is diesel sources. It's industrial sources. The trees are the cheapest and most effective way to deal with a huge chunk. It's not the full solution, but it is the smart solution. And you have a lot of smart people donating a lot of their time, and they're here tonight to stand for the trees. So I ask you, if you're here to stand for the trees, stand up. My daughter is sick. We got told again today our air quality is making it 1,000 times worse. She might even need surgery again. Please listen to the experts who are giving you free advice.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Okay, so good evening, everyone. My name is Antje Lauer, CSUB, and I'm also here for the trees. So you already know my comments. I want to only add a few things. So I remember that Councilwoman Kaur suggested to add a few more members from the community to the tree advisory group, in which I'm also a member, just to have a broader representation of the community. And I want to ask the city manager, Mr. Clegg, to reconsider adding a few more of those people. Also, of these groups. Also, you know, in November 2024, we submitted another list with lots of signatures, 175 for an addendum to the tree plan. And I would love to see this adopted as a policy so that it has some teeth to be followed. You know, otherwise it will be ignored. It probably will be ignored. And then I also want to announce that my students and we have started to do a tree inventory in Bakersfield. And it's not that hard to do. And as I promised, we will flag those trees that are a safety hazard, but we will keep going this summer and into the fall semester and provide some information about the quality of trees in Bakersfield parks, the east and the west and the north and the south. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Terry Maxwell, followed by Diana Campbell, followed by Maria Polite.
We have just over 5 minutes left for the balance of the speakers, so we just ask that you be concise, please. Welcome.
Good evening, Council. My comments, I want to make two specific points. First is, in your public comments, allowing only 20 minutes is kind of ridiculous. You give the people the impression you really don't care what they have to say. I think that's a travesty. I'm not sure. We have two people that want to go to further offices. One is going to go further. The other
I'm going to ask you, Mr. Maxwell, if you'd stop. Please do not do that. We've already gone over the protocol here. Go ahead, Mr. Maxwell.
And I think that you both should really review whether you're being someone who wants to hear what people have to say, because the way that you do this is not really a demonstration of an interest in what people have to say. I came to the last meeting because there was deferred business. You gave the staff 25, 30 minutes to go over exactly what the deferred business was all about, but you gave no one any chance to comment on that afterwards. And that deferred business was H Street, which I will comment on tonight when we get to the agenda items. The other thing is, I've come here before and let you know that 24th Street is a huge liability for this city. You've been warned that when it narrows, it eliminates a lane, and the person in the right-hand lane is going straight into the person in the left-hand lane. You've done nothing about that. I've asked that you follow through on your promise to make sure that we have trees in the median, and all those trees have pretty much died and not been replaced. So I guess you really don't care that much about the people in the Westchester area, either on the north or the south, to have a median that looks more like some of the medians you see in other places of the city. Now, the last thing is, we were supposed to have more than one entrance into the north side. It's only Beach Street at this point because you've taken away, for some reason, the effort or the opportunity at the east end of the tree streets to traverse back to get into there. It's been blocked off, and it's been blocked off for a long time. When are you going to open that up? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Maxwell. Next speaker, please.
Diana Campbell, followed by Maria Polite.
My name is Diana Campbell. I want to speak in support of the tree petition submitted by the Sierra Club. I also want to talk about what they do in another city to protect trees and why they think it's worth it. My daughter lives in Austin. Every tree that's 19 inches or more in diameter is a protected tree. Every tree that's a live oak or one of the heritage slow-growing species has the highest protection rate. You cannot remove that tree, even if it's on your property, without a permit. You cannot trim it more than the live canopy more than 25% without a permit. If you remove the tree without the permit, it's thousands of dollars in fine. You can mitigate that by planting 3 more trees, but if you don't have the room on your property, you're going to pay a big fine. The area underneath the tree, the critical root zone, that's protected too. You can't dig down more than 4 inches. You want to put in a pool? Maybe you can't. Maybe you can't put in a new patio. So it's very restrictive. But if I go to the city website, it says, the absolute strictness of Austin's tree ordinance is actually a cornerstone of the city's brand. Far from being a niche environmental rule, the urban forest is treated as a core infrastructure that directly drives Austin's economic desirability. And they are desirable. Apple has moved there. Tesla's moved there. Google's moved there. I hear our government here constantly worrying about how they're going to attract people.
Thank you. Your time is up. Can you bring your comments to a close, please? Thank you. Madam Clerk, next speaker, please.
Maria Polite.
So we have 1.5 minutes left for the balance of the speakers. So I'm going to ask if you can move things along quickly, please.
Yes, I just want to say I'm here to advocate for the trees. I ran off this article from the paper today if you didn't have a chance to read it. And thank you. I hope you'll pass what we need in this town.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Mary Helen Barrow.
Thank you very much. I live at 201 Jefferson Street in the old part of town, and most of the trees in East Bakersfield are over 100 years old. I am so upset at what you have decided to do, you in Kern County, with the trees in our area. We need to protect trees, not butcher them. I'm very upset. You're cutting down 725 trees. I can't believe it. You can't do that. You can't butcher our community, because that's what you're doing when you butcher the trees. You're butchering our community. The shade that we can walk under, where our children can play, where seniors can walk in the summertime. Please do not do that. Also, I understand that we do have a tree foundation here still. I helped form it when I moved from Sacramento because we had one there that was wonderful. I understand now that the head of it has taken over, and he's one of the tree butchers. I'm going to form a new real tree foundation, and we're going to protect trees, not cut them down. Please do not let that plan go through with butchering our trees. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'm going to have one final speaker, Madam Clerk. Javon?
Javon Dangerfield.
This is the time for non-agenda. And our time is technically up, but go ahead and briefly tell us.
Thank you. I appreciate it. My name is Jovan Dangerfield. I'm Executive Director of Time for Change. Raise your hands, please. And we are here today to advocate on the behalf of a vote taking place next session on the $3 million for the Martin Luther King Park renovation. We've been involved for 3 years, going on 4, volunteering in that community. That park is adopted under our name. We've cleaned the trash on the park and saw the kids' faces. We found over 45, 50, 55 needles at that park with just open, exposed, be able to cause damage to youth. As I began to do this 3-4 year journey, I started talking to community members, and one thing they all had in common was that they were devoid of hope, and that it was a hopeless place, and that they agreed that they didn't feel very cared about. And my job is to try to talk between both sides and get a sense of connectivity. And what I'm here to ask the council about is we need to feel that that park matters, because that park was once the epicenter of Bakersfield on the east side. It's called a California Park. Used to have car drive-ins and all the basketball players and everybody would come, and it was a very great place. And because of the morale of the area going down, it sends youth a message. It sends youth a message that maybe their voices aren't heard. And maybe even, I seen all the people advocating for trees, and I thought it was so beautiful to be that removed from poverty to where you can be able to think about stuff like that. Because the areas I work in, they can't even bring themselves to think at that place yet because of the intense poverty and suffering that they're dealing with, fights and seeing needles where you play. If we can invest this $3 million, give this area of a city a chance to resurge, and send a message to the youth to let them know that we love them and that Bakersfield cares about everybody, which I know is true, but I'd love to see it. And I think this is a great opportunity to do that. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Dangerfield. I see that there were additional speakers who wanting to speak. Are any of you also interested in the same topic? If you are, just go ahead and raise your hand. Okay, just being able to note that there were additional speakers who were in support of the same topic. Councilmember Gonzalez.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Dangerfield, thank you so much for your words tonight and reminding us all of the real and pressing emergency that many of our community members are facing. Many of us experience day to day, and that is the experience of poverty in our community. Often the personal household experience, but then also living within a community of poverty is that double impact that so many of us talk about on a regular basis. And trying to uplift those communities in a thoughtful, strategic, and empowering way is something that we look towards Time for Change to help provide some leadership on. And I commend you and your all your young people who are here with us to do so. I want to just encourage you. We are about to adopt a annual budget, and in it is proposed is a proposed allocation of $3 million for MLK Park renovation. This is a staff recommendation, and it has not been removed. And so tonight, actually, we do have a public hearing for this. And so I want to encourage anyone else who wants to speak up in support of that budget to do so tonight. You'll have another opportunity to speak to the council at that moment. But please use your voice, and please continue to provide that leadership in our community. And know that there are many of us who are eager to partner. Thank you.
Thank you. For those of you who submitted speaker cards and noted that you were in support of MLK, the clerk has recorded that for the record. Madam Clerk, Do we have any public speakers regarding items listed on tonight's agenda?
Mayor Go, we have received 2 speaker cards for the consent calendar and 4 speaker cards for agenda item 10 and 6 speaker cards for 10A and 6 speaker cards for agenda item 10B. The first public speaker regarding item 6C2 on the consent calendar is Heather Silvas.
So if you're here to speak on deferred business item 10A, that's Rancho Tree Service, or 10B, H Street, now is the time to speak, as the clerk noted. Welcome.
Good evening, Mayor and Council members. My name is Heather Silvas, and I am here tonight as a homeowner, a mother, a professor, and a resident who has spent years watching a residential neighborhood transformed into something it was never intended to be. Tonight, you are adopting an ordinance to regulate short-term rentals. But before you vote, I want you to ask yourselves one question. What good are rules if they are not followed? Because that is exactly what many residents have been living through in Bakersfield. We are constantly told that regulations will solve the problem. We're told that permits will solve the problem. We're told that enforcement will solve the problem. But residents in my neighborhood have already tested that theory. They documented what was happening. They filed complaints. They followed the process. They worked with code enforcement. They did everything that we were asked to do. And after years of effort, enforcement action was finally taken. Code enforcement sent a cease and desist and threatened legal action, and we were told that the events would stop. Yet the activity continued. That is what concerns me, not the existence of rules, the willingness to ignore them. One property that has become a symbol of this issue is the Horton Hotel, promoted by Krista and Bryce Horton to millions of followers on Instagram. The issue is not their profitability. The issue is that when residents raised concerns, documented what was occurring, and sought enforcement, the activity did not stop. Residents were left with the impression that even after code enforcement became involved, the neighborhood was still expected to absorb the consequences. That is not accountability. That is not enforcement. That is not fairness to the people who live there. And let's be honest about what's happening. This is not a short-term rental issue. These properties are being used as event spaces, not occasionally, regularly, every weekend. Private parties, large gatherings, and weddings. Events that bring traffic, parking congestion, noise, and disruption into residential neighborhoods. And when that happens, the neighborhood becomes a parking lot. Make sure that these short-term rentals are not just given permission to operate, but also that they're enforced and don't become event venues in our city.
Thank you, Ms. Silvas. Next speaker, please.
Lily Parker regarding consent calendar item 6J1.
Welcome.
Thank you. My name is Lily J. Parker. I am the Executive Director of Bakersfield Senior Center, and I'm here tonight to ask for your continued support of Bakersfield Senior Center. We've also partnered with the Housing Authority because we are together going to build a 4-story facility that will house seniors. It will also be a place that we call safe for our seniors. We also will provide socialization as well as jobs. So we're creating a place where we can transform 4th Street. I'm asking you for your support. Where the finances are also concerned, we are members of the TCC, Southeast Strong. We're one of those partners where our particular project came in #1 every time. It didn't matter where the meeting was held. The community said, this is what we want. And I'm asking you to support that this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Parker. Next speaker, please.
Mayor Go, the following 4 speakers are speaking regarding item 10A. The first speaker, Luis or Luis Alvarez, followed by Valentina Gutierrez, followed by Sharon Briel, followed by Eddie Lane.
Hello.
Welcome.
Hi. Hi, Mayor Coe and honorable city councils. I'm here to speak on regards of the trees. I would love for my little brothers and sisters to grow up in the same neighborhood where there is multiple trees and they could go outside and play, and they're not afraid to go outside because of this heat. And yeah, thank you guys for your time.
Thank you, sir. Next speaker, please.
Valentina Gutierrez, followed by Sharon Briel, followed by Eddie Lane.
Good evening, City Council members, Mayor Go, and Mr. Clegg. My name is Valentina Gutierrez, and I am a youth volunteer for Building Healthy Communities. Bakersfield's tree canopy is at 7%. That number already sounds low, but here's what that number doesn't tell you. Some neighborhoods in our city have only 3% tree canopy covered, and some areas in Southwest Bakersfield up to 22%. That's not a coincidence. That gap follows the same lines as income, as race, as years of being overlooked. When it's 105 degrees outside, and we all know those days, shade is not a luxury, it is survival. And the families who need this relief the most are living in the neighborhoods with the least of it. These are the same families that are suffering higher rates of asthma and chronic illnesses. We can do better. Bakersfield can do better. Because no one should have less clean air, less shade, less protection, just because of the zip code that they call home. Today, a group of us is here to ask you to officially adopt the recommendations that Dr. Angie has proposed to you. Thank you.
Thank you. And next speaker now.
Sharon Briel, followed by Eddie Lane.
Hi. Hello. I submitted a written analysis of this contract that we're reviewing tonight to the full council, and I will state what's on the public record. In 2005, the city solicited competitive bids for tree service. Rancho Tree Service submitted the low bid under California Public Contract Code 26162. The contract shall be awarded to the lowest responsible bidder. Instead, the city split the award, giving $500,000 each to Rancho and General Tree Service, the incumbent who did not submit the low bid. A long-term relationship with an incumbent is not a legal basis to deviate from a competitive bidding law. Tonight, the city is proposing to transfer $400,000 from General Tree to Rancho, an administrative acknowledgement that Rancho should have had the full bid from the start. But an internal reallocation does not cure the original violation. Before you vote, I ask each council member to take a look at two numbers in the agreement before you. In Exhibit 1 in your packet, the total of all services to be performed is $837,002. Add the contractual permitted 5% cost escalation. The full justified ceiling should be $878,852. The authorized ceiling is $1,400,000. That's a $521,148 gap that is not documented anywhere in the staff report. No explanation. The question this council must answer before approving, what is this $121,48 for? I request these comments be entered into the record. Thank you.
Thank you. And next speaker, please.
Eddie Lane.
Welcome.
Good evening. I'm Eddie Lane with the Sierra Club. I've certainly been here before. And I just want to echo what was said before, and that's that we need a council referral to get a resolution so that we can be on solid ground. We're not. A lot of The discussion that comes up again and again is because we're not on solid ground. We don't have the resolution that we thought we would have a year and a half ago. But I want to speak specifically to the item tonight, and this is the item for this increase of $400,000. I provided in your packet that on June 11th of 2025, the total amount of money for tree removal was $1 million. What happened? It was $1 million. Now it's supposed to be $1.4 million. That's a $400,000 gap. There's something amiss there. There's also a major contractual flaw. ANSI 300 pruning standards are missing. They were in the bid, but they're missing in the contract. Those are the standards that help us supposedly not over trim. So this contract should not be permitted unless those standards are in there. By the way, you already approved a little $100,000 contract a couple weeks ago. So you've got a stopgap in the meantime. Also, contractual reporting needs to be given directly to this council. You need monthly reports. Trees trimmed, trees removed, the cost. You need those. The public needs those. Also, you need to have assessments of the work being done on a regular basis. You need that. The public needs that. Also, the public needs to be involved. What we're asking for is that trees to be removed or trimmed be posted on the city website so that these people here can comment before they're taken down. These trees are public trees. We own those trees. We want an opportunity to have our voice heard. And finally, there's a letter attached that we're not getting a response about what's happening to the trees that were taken away, that were trimmed, that were removed. We need answers. We're asking for your help. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lane. Next speaker, please.
Mayor Go, we have 7 speakers for item 10B. The first 3 speakers are Josh Raper, followed by Greg West, followed by Joanna Kendrick.
Good evening, Council. My name is Josh Raper, lifelong Bakersfield resident and superintendent for Griffith Company. Speaking for you today in regards to the South H Corridor project, Griffith Company is the contractor slated to do the work, and I'll be the superintendent on the project. We are doing 2 similar projects in the downtown Lamont area and through the center of Oildale, and these projects are doing exactly what they are designed to do: transportation of cars and pedestrians, public safety. It's all working out to a T. We are efficiently moving block by block through the center of Lamont, currently on an 8-day calendar cycle from demo to full realignment, so with minimal impact to the business owners and the community. We are good partners in that community, and we commit to be good partners to the city of Bakersfield. If there is any rephasing that needs to be done of the project, specifically around the area of Bakersfield High School, you have our commitment to work collaboratively towards that. We do want to focus on this project and the timeline of any future amendments so that we do not have to lay off our core employees. So as a resident of Bakersfield, I hope that you make a good decision on this project today, and we will be partners throughout. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Raper. Next speaker, please.
Greg West, followed by Joanna Kendrick, followed by Cindy Para.
Welcome.
Good evening. My name is Greg West. I am the CEO of Central Academy of Arts and Technology, referred to as CAT, a public charter school that's located in downtown Bakersfield on the corner of 18th and 8th Street, serving over 600 students, our Bakersfield students. I'm also a lifetime Bakersfield resident who is deeply committed to supporting the continued growth of our community. I'm here tonight to support the 8th Street Improvement Project. Several years ago, our organization made a deliberate decision to locate in downtown Bakersfield. We believe that our students benefit from being connected to businesses, arts organizations, community partners, working together to create a vibrant downtown core. Our school serves students from throughout Bakersfield and Kern County, and we are committed to being a part of the ongoing revitalization of the area. CAT intends to continue its investment in downtown Bakersfield through facility modernizations, real estate development, community partnerships, and bringing educational leaders from across the state to share how urban education can be accomplished in a unique downtown environment. Projects like 8th Street Improvement are more than about the roads. They're investments in the long-term future of downtown Bakersfield. Improved traffic flow, safer pedestrian access, better lighting, all help create the type of environment that attracts our families and encourages community engagement. As our school continues to grow, we hope to bring even more families into downtown Bakersfield. Those families support local businesses, attend community events, and contribute to the economic vitality of the area. When we invest in safe and accessible infrastructure, we're investing in the economic development and long-term success of our city. I appreciate the council's continued commitment to our downtown core and creating a safe and welcoming environment for our families.
Thank you, Mr. West. Next speaker, please.
Joanna Kendrick, followed by Cindy Parra, followed by Karina Funes.
Welcome.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. My name is Dr. Joanna Kendrick, and I'm the superintendent of the Central Academy of Arts and Technology. It's my privilege tonight to be able to speak in support of the H Street Development Project. As an educator, and probably more importantly as a mom, I see H Street through different eyes. I see it as a place where hundreds of families travel down every morning to attend school. When we talk about sidewalks and traffic flow, lighting, accessibility, and streetscapes, we're talking about much more than our city's infrastructure. We're talking about whether a child can walk to and from school safely, whether a student can ride their bike to school, whether a family feels comfortable spending time downtown, walking to their favorite restaurants and places to spend a Saturday afternoon. We're really talking about whether the children at our school can experience the heart of their city as a place that belongs to them. For our families, H Street is not just a roadway, it's part of their daily experience. It's where parents form their first impressions of what it's like to go to school downtown. It's where students arrive excited to be down in their city center and where we want them to feel safe, welcomed, and connected. This is why I wholeheartedly support this project and the other improvements happening downtown as well. The proposed improvements will make this area safer, more accessible, and more inviting to students and families. And beyond the practical benefits, I believe this project represents something bigger. It represents a city that's willing to invest in its community and in its students. As someone who spends her days around children, I can tell you that this project would mean a lot, not just to me, but to all the students at the Central Academy and the families. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Kendrick. Next speaker, please.
Cindy Parra, followed by Karina Funes, followed by Terry Maxwell.
Welcome.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Council. I'm Cindy Parra. I'm at 1708 Chester, and I'm here tonight in favor of Agenda Item 10B, the H Street corridor improvements. I would just like to say that we all know, the council knows, that we have a tragic epidemic right now of not only pedestrian and cycling fatalities, but also automobile fatalities. And we all know that studies show that by slowing traffic down, you have a better opportunity to survive a collision at slower traffic. And as our Vice Mayor said tonight so succinctly, speed kills. Speed kills. And this project will slow traffic down without disrupting the level of service at the same time. Traffic will move the same as it has before with the taking the lanes out. The money, people have said, why can't we move this money to other projects in town? And that can't happen. This money is for this project. And if we don't move forward with this project, it will go to another, it'll go to the state and it'll go to another city. So tonight I'm asking the council to consider saving a life and vote to approve this project. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Parra. Next speaker, please.
Karina Funes, followed by Terry Maxwell, followed by Kiyoshi Timono.
Good afternoon, Honorable Mayor and City Council. I'm here to speak regarding H Street Corridor Project. Blue Zones Project Bakersfield was proud to partner with City Public Works and staff throughout the community engagement process for H Street Complete Streets project. Together, we worked to ensure residents, businesses, and corridor stakeholders had meaningful opportunities to learn about the project, provide feedback, and understand how these improvements will create a safer and more vibrant H Street. During the design phase, 3 community meetings were held to gather input on safety, access, and mobility. After the design was completed, an additional meeting was held to share construction information and address access concerns. Blue Zones Project and Public Works staff also conducted door-to-door outreach along 8th Street between Golden State and Brundage, engaging representatives from more than 38 businesses and numerous residents to discuss the proposed improvements. Staff discussed planned improvements, including curb extensions, safer pedestrian crossings, and improved lighting, and distributed informational door hangers with project details and community meeting information. And I provided copies of what the door hangers looks like. For businesses and residents where staff were unable to speak directly with an owner or representative, door hangers were left to ensure they received the educational materials and meeting information. The feedback we heard was consistent. Residents and stakeholders expressed concerns about speeding, collisions, pedestrian and bicycle safety, and student safety near schools. Many also voiced support for traffic calming, beautification, and the long-term revitalization of the corridor. Today, some of our Blue Zones Project staff actually heard from community members thanking the city and the support from Blue Zones Project on the green bike lanes, saying that they feel comfortable riding the bike lanes with their families. At Blue Zones Project, we believe that the healthy choice and the safest choice should be easy. The 8th Street Complete Streets project will create a safer, more accessible corridor that supports walking, biking, and access to local businesses and community connections. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Funes. Madam Clerk, next speaker, please.
Terry Maxwell, followed by Kiyoshi Tomono.
Welcome.
Good evening. My name is Terry Maxwell. I'm kind of waiting for the unicorns to come running down the both aisles, because what people are saying about this project really does not really represent what the owners of businesses in that corridor have told me. When they had their last meeting, they were all in there and they were saying they did not want this project to go through, yet they were told, hey, it's too late. I'm just wondering, when you decided that they were having a problem with this particular street, too many accidents, did you go to the design people and say, excuse me, but we'd like to maintain 2 lanes in both directions. Can you come up with a design that would accomplish that? I don't think so. What you did was you went through and said, we want a design that includes bicycle lanes. Well, I can tell you how to eliminate all the car versus bicycles on 8th Street. Make it so that bicycles can't use 8th Street. Because we as drivers through the downtown area need 8th Street to be 2 lanes in both directions. Now, where's your proof? Where's your proof that putting bike lanes in any place reduces car versus bikes? The only way that you achieve that is by making sure bikes and cars are not on the same streets. All of the corridors in Bakersfield used to be 3 lanes. A lot of them are now 2 lanes with a bike lane. Who do you think paid for those corridors to be built in the first place? People who drive cars and trucks. We pay for it because of our registration. We pay for it because of our gas taxes. Yet now you're taking a lane away from us and making it so that we cannot traverse where we need to go in an efficient manner. So anybody who's told you tonight, oh, it's going to improve traffic, prove that to me. Prove that something like this is going to improve traffic, because you can't. It's the same problem we had with the TRIP projects. Prove to me that we have gotten anything out of them. You can't. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Maxwell. Madam Clerk, next speaker, please.
Kiyoshi Tomono.
Welcome.
Thank you. And I do miss the desserts at Terry's restaurant too, by the way. I'll put that on the record. Kiyoshi Tomono. I have the privilege of working with Adventist Health and our partners at Blue Zones. And I do want to note, Mr. Maxwell did mention that there, are studies needed. There is an abundance of evidence that is out there, including studies that are easily, readily available, whether you ChatGPT it or Google, and these are peer-reviewed studies that do show traffic calming measures do actually improve public safety, pedestrian safety, and bike safety. The evidence is out there. But as a healthcare organization, I did want to note, and this is why we partner with Blue Zones, we see firsthand the impact that pedestrian fatalities, that car accidents have on individuals, families in our community. This is not just a traffic issue, it is a public safety and public health issue, and that's why we rise today. We understand also, and I know this council is very acutely aware of where we are in the economy today in inflation, that you guys have competing interests for dollars, and that you have a very important duty as city council members to make sure that our public taxpayer dollars are spent wisely. But as one of our other speakers did note, these dollars are state and federal tax dollars earmarked, 90% of them for this specific use. And we do think that it's an important use. And I do want to mention, too, our police chief just talked on a blog publicly about the work that they're doing to help calm and reduce the number of traffic incidents on our streets. And he pointed to what he called 3 E's, 2 among them being enforcement, which they are working on, but also the environment. So even our police chief is in support of some of these changes and how we change the environment to make it safer. And I'll just leave you with this, that beyond reducing accidents and creating environments that support all modalities of getting around, whether it's walking, biking, and active transportation, this is an important thing for our community because safe streets are not just transportation infrastructure, it's really health infrastructure. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chimono. Madam Clerk, any more speakers?
Mayor Ko, that was our final speaker.
Thank you. Next item, please.
Consent calendar items 6A through 6J for approval. A staff memorandum was provided regarding item 6F8, requesting the item be pulled from the agenda. An additional staff memorandum was provided regarding item 6J1, transmitting signed agreements and correcting a Scrivener's error.
Thank you. And Councilmember Bashir Tosh, I know that you wanted to pull that item. It's been pulled by staff. And Councilmember Weir wishes to pull 6C2. Vice Mayor?
Motion to approve consent calendar agenda items with the exception of 6C2, 6A through 6J. And 6F8, which has been pulled by staff.
You have a motion? Please cast your votes.
Motion is unanimously approved.
Thank you. And now, Councilmember Weir with 6C2.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to vote separately on that item.
Thank you. Yes, and we have, does somebody, he wants to vote separately, so if you could call that up.
Motion to approve agenda item 6C2 for approval.
You have a motion. Please cast your votes. Are we having any problems with voting?
Motion is approved with Councilmember Weir voting no.
Thank you. And before we continue, let's take a 10-minute break. Madam Clerk, next item, please.
Consent calendar public hearings, items 7A through 7C for approval.
The purpose of this section is to vote on all of the items listed under consent calendar hearings in one motion without further comment. If anyone would like to speak on the hearing items listed, the item must be removed from this portion of the agenda. If an item is removed, it will be placed at the end of the regular public hearings portion of the agenda. So at this time, I'll open consent calendar public hearing items 7A through C. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to request that a hearing item be removed from the consent calendar? Please come forward. This isn't the time to take testimony, but just to remove the item. Seeing none, does any council member wish to remove an item from the consent calendar hearing? So at this time, consent calendar public hearings, items 7A through C is closed. We need a motion.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent calendar public hearing items.
7A through C. You have a motion. Please cast your votes.
Motion is approved with Vice Mayor Corr absent.
Thank you. Next item, please.
Hearings.
Our next item is public hearings. Each side will be allowed 15 minutes. It's 15 minutes for all speakers per side. So it's important that you identify yourself, make your statement succinctly so others may speak. We'll hear statements from those opposed to staff's recommendation first. Then we'll hear from those who'd like to speak in favor of staff's recommendation. If there's testimony on both sides, each side will be allowed a 5-minute rebuttal. There's a clock on the TV screens behind me which indicates 15 minutes. Please step to the microphone, identify yourself. After 14 minutes, a yellow light will come on. At the end of 15 minutes, a red light will flash, indicating your time is up. Quickly end your statement. You may ask questions during your statement, but they won't be addressed until the public hearing is closed. If you have written comments that are longer than your verbal statement, give them to the clerk. She'll give copies to the council. Please be courteous to others who wish to speak. Madam Clerk, please read the public hearing item.
Public hearing for the fiscal year 2026-27 proposed budget.
Thank you. Mr. Clegg.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Just two overarching observations about our budget process this year being a little different from it has been in prior years. First, your council was interested in getting started a little earlier in the process, getting into more details earlier in the process, as well as engaging the community to a higher degree, and also doing that earlier ahead of some of the budget workshops and budget decisions. And I'll speak a little bit more about that in a moment. The other piece that was distinctly different is that in this year, we implemented the first year of the budget restructuring as we had presented last year, that we, in our 5-year forecast, anticipated a need to make budget adjustments to lower our operating costs, to bring them into line with our revenues, but we gave ourselves a 5-year time frame to make those adjustments so that we didn't have to make too big of cuts before we were able to make assessments to service level impacts and how to be strategic about that. And so as just a couple quick reminders, we did start in March with a workshop with your council that identified how we were addressing those fiscal restructuring decisions and the reductions to operations of departments, as well as some of the larger savings that were targeted by some citywide savings efforts that started in March. We had town hall meetings throughout the springtime in our different wards across the city, as well as the meetings of the Public Safety Vital Services Oversight Committee in April. We had our 2 extensive budget workshops in May of the City Council, and based on all of those conversations and feedback, we're now here tonight to present a recommended proposed budget. This budget is a balanced budget that does reflect that first year of reductions and operating changes, and our finance director will walk through some of those numbers. But I actually wanted to begin the presentation by just showing a couple of slides that reflect some of the feedback that we received in our budget town hall meetings, where we asked the community to fill out a brief survey and weigh in on some of those factors. And so, interesting, you can see from this graph that public safety, and again, to reiterate, the question that we asked was, if you had $100,000, how would you divide that up? And we saw that public safety was the highest priority, next being infrastructure and maintenance, but also interesting, housing and community services also were reflected in priorities from the community. A similar question, but I thought it was relevant to just demonstrate, again, the priorities of the community, that there was still a high priority for our public safety and roads, and then also parks and city infrastructure were important priorities to the community throughout those workshops. And I would submit that our budget is reflective of these priorities that are not a surprise to council, but was valuable to reiterate that through our community feedback gathering process. We had 2 referrals related to budget. As we walk into this, we had 1 referral with a request to talk about some of the ARPA funds that were reimbursed for lost revenue. As a reminder, we had the opportunity, all cities above a certain size, we didn't have to necessarily demonstrate the specifics of the lost revenue, but we were able to claim lost revenue through the pandemic. Those funds were set aside in fund balance, and we were asked as staff to make a recommendation about where we might spend those funds. At this time, in particular, because there is also a capital contingency recommended in the budget, candidly, staff's recommendation is that we continue to leave it as fund balance for the time being. It is anticipated as part of our 5-year strategy to have, fund balance set aside to make sure we can continue to balance the budget as we make those adjustments. And your council is, again, fortunate to have one-time monies that from direction from our workshop that have been set aside. The proposed budget includes just shy of $5 million in capital contingency that can be determined how to spend at a later date by your council. That is beyond the core recommended CIP projects. I'm going to now turn the time over to Mr. McKeegan to walk through the numbers for us.
Good evening, Mayor Go, council members. Thank you, City Manager Clegg. So before you, I assume, you all have before you the full proposed budget. So we have, as Christian just mentioned, we have completed the proposed budget and presented to you a balanced budget, both in the general fund and in the overall budget. As we touched on just earlier, we did have proposed reductions. We went through a plan, understood that the long-term sustainability of the general fund required that reductions occur. So what I wanted to do is lay out the lion's share of the general fund reductions, specifically related to personnel. So what you see here is a summary of those reductions as proposed. As you see here, 72 vacant positions were eliminated from the complement, with a total savings a little over $9.4 million. Related to that, as Christian mentioned, we had 2 referrals, and the second referral really touched on the fire department. And so when the referral from Councilmember Gonzalez was specifically, what can we do in alternatively to reducing 6 vacant positions that would require a rescue apparatus to be mothballed? What can we do to make up that difference? So just so you know, that those 6 positions amount to a little over $900,000. So being that we're pretty late in the game, we couldn't identify other vacant positions at that time based on that referral. So what we have done is, based on the referral, given possible alternatives, one-time monies to cover that $900,000+. So what you see here are 4 alternatives. The first one being, as City Manager just mentioned, the contingency funds. We have almost $5 million that we set aside for future projects instead of allocating it to CIP. So we could use $900,000+ of those contingency funds to close the gap in the budget. We could also look at the existing CIP projects within the general fund, and there's over $8.5 million there. We could eliminate one of those projects and use that $900,000, an amount of $900,000 to close the gap. In addition, you are aware that we went through a process this year of a hiring freeze, and that generated additional fund balance that we were going to and plan to use to begin to maintain available fund balance so that we could get through that 3-year cycle that we talked about. So instead of using that general fund for future years, we could pull $900,000 from that available fund balance. And as you also know, we do have a rainy day fund, over $60 million in the rainy day fund. So council could appropriate dollars from that to cover that $900,000 gap. So that is the alternatives we have. I'm going to ask that we defer discussion on that until I have a few summary items just to kind of walk through, and then we can revisit that after that. So I'll just beg your patience here. So I want to continue looking at the summary of the budget. Familiar slide, you have all seen this slide. This is the revenue proposed for next year, fiscal year 26-27. Total of $441 million in that budget, and it compares it to last year, or this year's budget and last year's actuals. So what you see here is a $14.5 million increase, about 3.5% increase. The lion's share, as we all know, comes from taxes. Over 3/4 of the revenue in the general fund comes from citizen taxes. So again, a $14.5 million. It should be noted, as we just touched on, there were contingency dollars. So about $2 million in that general fund specifically relate to contingency dollars that we set aside in a contingency account to be potentially allocated elsewhere. So included in that $441 million is $2 million or so in contingency dollars. Moving forward to general fund expenditures, what you see here, it's a balanced budget. So we have $441 million in revenue. We have $441 million in expenditures. And it breaks it down by department there. The second to last column shows the change from last year to this year in the proposed budget. And then that last column is the amount of the general fund committed to each one of those departments. So you see here items of note. The Economic and Development Community Development Department was rolled into the Development Services Fund, so you see that 100% reduction there. And then that's also explaining the lion's share of the 52% increase in development services. In addition to that, portions of that staffing did go into the city manager's department, so you'll see that explains some of those increases in the city manager. And as you see in the last column, the lion's share, the majority of our general fund budget goes to public safety. Close to 62% of the general fund is committed to fire and police. The bottom section there breaks it out by function. So what you see, personnel, operating capital, and transfers. And again, the majority of, as you know, the majority of the general fund is committed for personnel costs, wages, benefits, pension costs, workers' comp is also included in that number. So 60, almost 70% of the general fund is committed for personnel costs. And finally, here is the final total budget as proposed. Same basic layout. You see it by department. We see a total of $926 million proposed for next year. It's a $4 million increase from last year, close to 9% increase. Again, the majority in this case, Public Works, there's a lot of CIP projects that are included in their budget, so they're about 32%. And then the breakdown of function below that. So that is the proposed budget we have for you. That is what we're presenting to you. That's what the public hearing is related to. I did want to pause before we move on to the human resources presentation. I offer you the opportunity for questions, and if you wanted to discuss that referral specifically related to the fire positions.
We need to go to the public first before we address.
We could defer that discussion until after public comment, but I want to, if you have questions on my presentation, then I'm happy to answer those.
Mr. Clegg, anything further?
Mayor Go, we do have one legislatively required update from Human Resources that is the next component before we go to public hearing comments from the public. State legislation was passed that requires that we outline any staff vacancy numbers and statistics, and so we'll invite Christy Tenter to come up and provide a few short slides to cover that content.
Good evening, Mayor Go, members of the City Council. I thought Randy was on a roll, so I was going to let him continue for me. All right, so as City Manager Clegg said, we have a newer requirement, AB 2561, passed in 2024, and we shared this last year during our public hearing, June 11th of last year. The requirements are amendments to the MMBA and include specific tracking of vacancy rates and bargaining units, status of vacancies, and retention efforts and recruitment efforts moving forward. Also, a collaboration with labor partners should we have vacancy rates that exceed 20%. So both City Manager Clegg and Director McKeegan teed this up. We've talked about a hiring freeze. We've talked about positions that are being recommended for elimination in the budget. So the data will look a bit different than last year, but we'll walk you through it and then reserve any time for questions as part of the hearing process. The first is a historical look back at our vacancy rates and really a buffet of differences year by year. We've had as few as 24 vacancies in our headcount. We've had as many as 264, represented by the green and the red, highs and lows. And this year, our citywide vacancy rate for an approved headcount of 2,035 full-time employees comes to 9.83. And so again, looking at this past year, point in time. We have variations in those numbers that we can talk about. This was part of our payroll data in March, but again, we've had varied numbers. Why are some of the numbers larger at times than others? A lot depends on our public safety recruitment processes. Those recruitments can take 6 months, of which vacancies and full-time positions can be open and available, and then we can fill them. So when you pull the data, it can have varying results. When we talk about units, we're talking about how we have represented employees or non-represented employees by bargaining unit. As a reminder to this council, we have the 3 represented units, Bakersfield Police Officers Association, the Professional Firefighters Association, SEIU for our blue and our white collar, and then our non-represented, our management, supervisory, and executive. The slide shared in your packet that you have shows the total authorized positions at the time of running the data, the number of vacant positions, and what each unit had as a vacancy rate at that time, as well as a classification description. And so again, these numbers have increased from last year, but again, as we've already heard from the budget data preview, we're looking at, we had several positions. Last year in June, we entered into a hiring freeze, and at that time, we had 155 positions vacant. And now we have, as of this data, 200, continuing some recruitments. As of last payroll, 195. But again, that gives you an outline of the movement in the positions and why the numbers are slightly up. This is a representation of the units. So just looking at last year, the first year we provided this data as part of this presentation to council in the budget process, and where we are today. So again, numbers are up. But again, in support of efficiency reviews and effective holds on our vacancies to create some flexibility in our budget last year. When we start to look at department, again, 200 total vacancies at the time that we ran the data. This represents what those positions are, not by unit, but by department level. So again, police, this was right before we started an academy, one of our largest academies. We still have 32 incumbents working through the trainee process. But again, when you take those numbers into consideration and where we were, today police in our sworn unit has roughly 16 vacancies with several recruitments in process. So we'll talk more about what the processes look like, but this just gives a department perspective of where those 200 vacancies fell as we ended our review process. This is a little bit of an eye chart, but for you with the presentation in hand, you can zoom in as needed, but this breaks it down now by position. So we just saw department, but by bargaining unit, what positions were vacant. So our blue and white collar had 133 vacancies of the 200. And at the time, again, many frozen, but we had authorized to fill 47 positions, of which we're continuing a number of active recruitment. We had fleet mechanic interviews yesterday, ECD positions. So again, constantly recruiting to fill the vacancies that we have. And once we know what the final budget numbers are, we will continue to advocate and recruit actively. Miscellaneous manager, sworn management, and general supervisory, 24 vacancies with 9 positions approved to fill at the time of the report. Again, listed alphabetically and with the number of positions vacant as the count. Combining our sworn positions under Bakersfield Professional Firefighters Association and BPOA, we have the number and classification counts of those positions. Again, at the time for BPOA, we had roughly 20 positions at the time that we were running this data. That's been reduced, but we have 34 vacancies at that time. But again, the academy was starting just weeks after the data was collected. The bill also requires that we discuss why positions are vacant and what efforts are being taken. This is a almost exact slide shared from last time because we have continued our focus on effective recruitment efforts in human resources and partnering with our departments and hiring authorities. So again, a number of attraction and retention goals. I would also point out that council approved cost of living increases through the MOU and our successful negotiations with all units during this fiscal year. That, again, is a very helpful and strategic retention aspect to our efforts as an organization. That next increase is coming within the next couple weeks. That's a good announcement for our employees who are awaiting that. But again, this gives an overview of what attraction and retention efforts are ongoing in effort to enhance recruitment and hold on to the employees that are currently skilled and working actively in their roles. So what are our recommendations to continue? Well, the budget drives much of that. And as we've already heard, we're looking at eliminations in certain vacant positions. But how do we support ongoing workforce efficiency and planning support? That will be one of our highlights for this year, is identifying those service levels through the city manager's office, collaboration with the city manager's office, and how we can support overall operations in what headcount and what positions they do need to have filled. We'll continue looking at civil service rules, updating where we can have more efficiencies or modern practices in recruitment while complying with our regulatory and charter requirements. Continue to assess market trends. So it's very important that we understand what comparison agencies and what other local agencies are doing, especially as we look at departures in our sworn environment, the police department, and how compensation plays into that. We'll continue with marketing as we can, social media, broad-based marketing campaigns for recruitment efforts, and again, forecasting. Where we know there'll be vacancies, where we know we'll have projects, how do we build towards that? So those are the recommendations that we continue to adhere to as we move into the new fiscal year based on approved budget recommendations or approved positions at that time. And that concludes the overview of vacant positions, and now questions for all.
Thank you, Ms. Tinter. Mr. Clegg, anything further before we go to the public?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Just two quick emphases. One is that the number of vacancies going from 155 last year to 200 this year was intentional through the hiring freeze. And those 200 vacancies, of those 200, that includes the 72 eliminations. And so when you see that number looking pretty big, our budget balancing of eliminating 72 positions will significantly reduce the number of vacancies. The second piece is that we are not moving forward with our hiring freeze precisely the same way that we did a year ago, but we're going to continue. Every 2 weeks, we have an evaluation of any vacant positions that are being requested to be filled. We're going to continue to scrutinize every position that becomes vacant to determine if it's part of our ongoing fiscal restructuring or if it's part of those core services that need to be hired. So that will continue to take place for the roughly 120 positions that will remain vacant after the eliminations of the positions as part of the budget.
Thank you, Mr. Clegg. So at this time, public hearing items 8A is open. For those who'd like to speak in opposition to the proposed budget, this would be the time. Madam City Clerk, would you please call the first speaker? Yes, and at this point, we don't know whether they're in favor or against, so she's going to go ahead and call. If you're in opposition, this would be the time to speak. Madam City Clerk.
Jason Cosper, Ariel Dyer, Sharon Brill, Nadine Escalante, Rosa Lopez, and Eric Orellana.
Thank you. Mr. Cosper. Welcome.
Good evening.
Please introduce yourself.
My name is Jason Cosper. I've lived in Bakersfield for 14 years. My neighbors are nurses, truck drivers, teachers, retirees, and this city is watching every one of them. Several months ago, I filed a California Public Records Act request to find out what the city signed us up for with flock safety. BPD handed over 30 documents and 1.4 million rows of raw license plate search data. There are at least 133 flock cameras deployed across the city, plus a platform able to pull in up to 384 additional external video feeds. Using Flock, any officer can click on any building and pull up the names, ages, and phone numbers of everyone inside. All of it sits under a 5-year contract at $430,000 a year, partially funded by a state grant sold to the public as a way to stop shoplifting. These same documents confirm that annual audit reports do not exist. Nobody on this council, as far as I'm aware, held a public hearing before a single camera went up. And now the technology development section of next year's budget centers on a real-time information center, folding decommissioned city CCTV cameras into the Flock system. It's being built the same way that the cameras went up, without our input. So, before you finalize that budget, decide whether that's how your neighbors really want their money to be spent. Halt the expansion and end the contract, publish camera locations and usage logs, hold public hearings before any renewal. Commit that no new surveillance technology comes to Bakersfield without hearings, voter approval, and annual audits. That's plain accountability. It's what this city owes the people who live in it, your constituents. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, next speaker, please.
Ariel Dyer.
Welcome.
Hi, my name's Ariel Dyer. I'm a librarian who lives here. And I also grew up here. I grew up in Bakersfield, so love this city. Today I'm speaking on behalf of everyone in Bakersfield who never knew of or consented to the massive surveillance infrastructure built and maintained by city leadership. I believe that our right to privacy and transparency supersedes a government's entitlement to surveil their constituents. Not because I have anything to hide. You'll forgive the library pun, but I'm mostly a pretty open book. It isn't what I or any other person does individually that's concerning to me. Instead, I want to focus on the entities in power, including council members and mayor, who quietly hoard this surveillance data, and technology companies like Flock Safety who help them do that. Surveillance tech offers too much power to be implemented, I believe, at all, let alone without voter input, public usage logs, or annual audits. The proposed annual budget describes an increase in Flock cameras in city parks on page 248, Bakersfield Police volunteers being given access to public safety camera systems for monitoring purposes, that's on page 167, and an already deployed real-time information center. As a resident, I can't decide what disturbs me more, the blatant disrespect for citizen privacy or the lack of transparency in such systems and processes being established without an opportunity for real input. What makes us safe is not more cameras, it's not a contract with Flock or a central panopticon hub that allows law enforcement to track without a warrant the movement of everyone who goes through this town. What makes us safe is access to housing, food, healthcare, knowing our neighbors, vibrant third spaces like public libraries. We are asking for a budget that represents us and real community public safety, not surveillance theater. I am begging y'all to halt any expansions to the surveillance infrastructure and hold public hearings before implementing and using the systems. Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Dyer. Next speaker, please.
Sharon Brill.
Welcome.
Sharon Brill. The city measures community character and quality of life by acreage of green space per capita. The number will decline as the population grows. The city is on record that it cannot afford to develop and maintain new parks. Instead, developers are building green spaces within their housing projects, but those spaces are not accessible to people who do not live in those communities. That is not a public green space, and it should not be counted as a community benefit. I propose adding trees per capita as a more honest quality of life measure. Green space per capita is a static acreage number. It does not capture whether the community is gaining or losing trees. Trees per capita would. Trees provide shade, reduce heat, and improve air quality, especially critical in wards 1, 2, and 7, where the canopy coverage is critically low. I have reviewed the 2006-27 budget and the Parks and Recreation goals. There is no planting budget. There is no implementation of this council's unanimous vote on March 11th directing to fund tree planting. What is funded is tree removal and trimming at the tune of $4.6 million across 5 vendors. Now, that's it.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Briel. Next speaker, please.
Nadine Escalante.
Welcome.
Good evening, City Council. I'm here today after having shots in my back. I get epidural shots like women get epidural shots to give birth. I'm here in an excruciating pain because of the concerns with the misuse of the city budget. So the trees. I'm seeing on the east side where you guys are cutting the trees so severely, they're dying. There's one on Oswald next to the Carl's Jr. I care about trees because I had to cut my tree in my front yard because it ruined the foundation, but it took us 1.5 years as a family to come to terms. We kept a portion of that tree because we loved that tree. As a community advocate for policing issues, the lady that was just shot over at Panorama Bluffs and the lack of patrol by BPD needs to be addressed. We see the vacancies for 43 people. That's a scare tactic for the community because they think they're not being protected because they see that many vacancies with the police department, and that is nonsense. The people are being neglected because we don't have lights. The only person that's ever addressed that issue was Andre and the city manager, nobody else. The comment from Mayor Go in the beginning when this young man was here discussing the concerns with the safety and people dying on Harris, and you saying you come here every 2 weeks, we hear you, that's just completely disrespectful. I'll make it a point to come every 2 weeks. I don't care. It's disrespectful. But when it comes to public input, you guys are not allowing that. I have had this ongoing conversation with the city manager, and I appreciate him listening and caring about this community. But the only person that I will say that will listen is Andre. Eric checked out about 2 years ago. Manpreet checked out too. The rest of you don't care. You are so disrespectful, it's out of line. This is ridiculous. This is our money. So what's interesting to me, as we're talking about us being surveillanced, does the DOJ know about that? Because racial profiling is illegal in the state of California. There's a report that gets put out every year since 2014, I believe. As well, you guys did not notify us county people that you were increasing our water rates. You sent a letter to us 2 months for a phony meeting at East Niles Water District where you are increasing our water rates. That meeting had only one person, me. There is shadiness, and I say shadiness in a hood way with pure intention. Y'all are shady. My water rate is going to go up $100 every year. My water rate in 5 years is looking at the size of my PG&E bill. We have low-income families. We have senior citizens that are walking the east side collecting cans to pay for their prescriptions. And you guys voted on this. You okayed this. And the sneakiness to go to us county people to pay for your negligence and your misuse of public funds. Property taxes that we pay on our businesses and our homes are paid for the infrastructure of this city that you are failing to do on a regular basis. Nobody is talking to you the way that I do. I'm sorry, I'm a mom. It's shameful how you are conducting business, and it needs to be addressed. And there's 6 vacancies coming up. This whole council needs to be flipped.
Next speaker, please.
Rosa Lopez.
Welcome.
Good evening. My name is Rosa. I'm a longtime resident and advocate in this community. And as an active member of this community, I've had the privilege to connect with various families. And one thing that I can say is that we are a hardworking community. People that are working every day to make this community better for our families and our neighbors and our friends. Some of the people that spoke tonight spoke or told you what they want to see invested in community. What is public safety for them? What is, a good life, building a safer community for all of us. But what we see year after year is that nearly half of our budget through the general fund goes to police. BPD is asking for over $201 million, representing an increase of almost $4 million from the previous year. For comparison, the Recreation and Parks Department is asking for $42.5 million, a fraction of what is allocated to police. This is not public safety. Public safety is investing in people who spoke here tonight, is investing in affordable housing, in safer neighborhoods, in youth development program, and accessible community spaces. I know that this is not the first time you hear about real public safety, and what has been missing in this process is real community input. I appreciate the city staff and Mr. Clegg for starting the community conversation this year, but that is not enough. We want to have an input and honest and open conversation before the budgets are allocated. We were presented with a proposal of where budgets are being allocated before we actually can share our thoughts of what to prioritize and what we need in our community, what will really improve our community public safety. We heard about people investing in trees, investing in street safety, investing in other things beyond more police with guns, beyond paying more surveillance to criminalize and police our community. So I really urge you to bring back the public in this process and allow for a meaningful conversation. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lopez. Next speaker, please.
Eric Oriano.
Welcome.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and council members and staff. My name is Eric Oriana. I'm here in opposition to the proposed budget. I was reading through the budget today, and I don't see in this budget a prioritization of our low-income communities in this city who are struggling to make ends meet. And this city council recently voted to increase water rates, and in a few years, this increase will have significant impacts on our communities. UC A&R report identified that this rate increase is unaffordable for 1 in 4 Bakersfield residents. 1 in 4. So 1 in 4 people in this room cannot afford it. But this city council is not doing anything to mitigate the cost impacts that residents will face. And so we're asking that you implement a rate assistance program with your general fund. Earlier we heard from the city manager about the input that was received on this in the community meetings that were had about where funds should be allocated. And that pie chart that we saw is much different than where you see the general fund allocations going for this year. And that's concerning. And I just wanted to encourage you all to adopt a rate assistance program. $400 million, you could set aside $1, $2, $3 million. And I was talking to a gentleman today, older gentleman who's been working with the city staff and policy for much longer than myself. And I was telling him, I don't know where I could tell staff to get this funding from. He said, they have the funds, it's just not a priority. And so $400 million in general fund, you have the funds, make it a priority. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Emma De La Rosa.
Well,
Good
would you just
evening.
wait until our guests clear out, just so you have an opportunity to be heard? Oh, you can stay right there, just waiting for them.
I guess my comment, hello, my name is Emma De La Rosa. I'm a community member, a resident of Ward 3. And I just wanted to come up here to say that I support the $3 million allocation for the Martin Luther King Jr. Park. The city of Bakersfield, within the last 5 years, has worked extremely hard, especially the community members of East Bakersfield have worked extremely hard to ensure that there's investments coming into the community after very many years of not receiving any investment. And so it sounds like the $3 million were added, and so I just want to make sure that that is in fact a line item, and that we take benefit of all of the funding that is coming to us from state and federal dollars. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. De La Rosa. And Madam Clerk, next speaker.
Mary Helen Barrow.
Ms. Barrow, we're at the conclusion of this segment in opposition, so you have about half a minute. So,
thank you, Mayor Go and members of the council. I was so upset about the tree situation. I apologize for not greeting you before when I made my comments. But I wanted to briefly address your human resources situation with the city. I noticed the numbers, and I haven't had a chance to really look at the budget, but for over 40 years I've been a consultant working with employers to diversify their employment force, and not only racially and culturally, but age-wise. It seems like we think that the minute somebody hits 60 years old, they can't do a job. Well, I'm here to tell you that I'm 88 years young. I still scuba dive, and I play golf. I'm planning to go on a scuba diving trip next year around to the coast of Africa. So there are a lot of preconceived notions, and I've been working with clients to raise their employment age brackets for requirements for, retirement, so that they don't have to retire at certain ages, all the different employment categories that you have age restrictions on them. I think they need to be reevaluated, because a lot of us older folks can do a lot more for a lot longer and
Ms. Barrow,
have the experience
your time
of
is up.
being,
Can you bring your comments to a close,
thank
please?
you, and have the experience of being on the job. So I hope you'll reconsider that in your employment for the city. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And now we'll move on to those in support of the proposed budget. Madam Clerk, would you call the first speaker, please?
Leslie Peralta.
Oh. And the next one? Oh.
Dylan Sylvia.
Okay. Seeing none. Seeing none, at this point, I'm going to close the public hearing and return it to council for comment and action. So thank you to all of those who have spoken. At this point, I haven't seen any requests to speak from the council, so maybe it's just a little slow. Councilmember Gonzalez.
Thank you, Mayor. First and foremost, thank you to all the members of the community who came out and spoke tonight and offered your thoughts. There's a lot to digest, certainly, and I'm looking forward to following up with many of you outside of this meeting before we adopt the budget to see if we can address some of the concerns raised and look for opportunities that we can work together for the benefit of the public. So thank you for that. I just wanted to make a more broad comment first in that, I've heard a lot tonight about various different issues. I think, all of us have some ideas on what it means to make a better Bakersfield, and more specifically, what it means to improve quality of life. I think that was the major theme I've heard tonight, whether it be regarding MLK Park or H Street, or certainly the tree canopy. improving quality of life in Bakersfield. We are a growing city. We're the 9th largest city. We're going to be the 8th largest city in the state of California. But being large does not make us great. When we invest in quality of life, when we invest in people, when we invest in our communities, when we include community members in the process, that's what makes Bakersfield a great city. And so I hear what the community is saying, and I know that for many of us on the dais, quality of life is a major priority. We understand that public safety goes far beyond police and fire, and it does go into investment, in meaningful investment in all of our communities. And so, I want to just reaffirm what I heard tonight in terms of quality of life and the need for us as a community, as a city, not just city government though, I mean as a community, to improve quality of life for all of us in Bakersfield over the long term. From my experience on the city council, really it works very concretely. It works project by project by project. It's nice to have lofty goals, but the way we improve quality of life is by being very, very specific and getting very specific with the budget. And so for me, there are just a couple of priorities that I have first and foremost for this particular budget. Number one is the MLK Park funding. I want to just confirm with the city manager because I reviewed it in our budget, but I know that there's still some questions out in the community. But the $3 million allocation for MLK Park is still in the proposed budget and still part of staff's recommendation.
That is correct.
Okay, thank you. The other issue that is really important to me in this budget is that we save the fire rescue units. This speaks directly to the quality of life and the health and safety of our residents, particularly those residents in the most vulnerable parts of our city. And if you would, Chief Albertson, please help us understand the objective of these units and what the benefit is for our community members.
Yeah, certainly. Thank you for the question. Our rescues are a unique and vital piece of equipment, and what our rescues mainly focus on are running medical aid calls. It is a 2-firefighter unit that focuses on a rapid response geared towards medical aid calls. And where we see a huge benefit in those is the placement of those rescues, and they're placed at 3 different stations: Station 1, Station 2, and Station 6, mainly around our downtown corridor and our busier stations. The big benefit to these rescues is when we have a concurrent call in those first ends. And what I'm talking about in concurrent call, I mean more than one call at the same time. So essentially, what those rescues are doing is they are taking the first medical aid out of the fire station and leaving the engine there to run the next vital call. Station 2, which is where one of the rescues is, had roughly just over 700 concurrent calls last year in 2025. Station 6 had right around 900, and Station 1 had right around the high 700s. And what we see is when we don't have that rescue in that station for those concurrent calls, another piece of equipment from outside of that first end has to respond into somebody else's first end, and it's a longer response time. Longer response times means longer times to deliver care, sometimes vital care, and could directly affect patient outcomes. Rescue 1 at Station 1 downtown here is also a paramedic rescue. So they provide vital, life-saving, advanced life support services.
Can you give us an example of a call for service?
Yeah, a call for service could be commonly difficulty breathing, respiratory distress, chest pain or heart attacks, cardiac arrest, all the way up to fires and rescues. And that's one of the other vital or valuable aspects to the rescue program is that those rescues will run those first medical aids, and it'll leave the engine in the station to run those fires, those rescues, and those other calls. Bakersfield is an active, Bakersfield Fire is an active department when it comes to fires. Last year, our Fire Investigations Division investigated nearly 500 fires. And they don't investigate every single fire. We had roughly 5,000 fires in Bakersfield. So there is a significant fire activity here in Bakersfield. And a lot of that is focused around that downtown corridor. Station 1, Station 2, Station 6, Station 4. So that's the other positive to the rescue program, is it allows the right piece of equipment to go to the right call. Vital program.
Appreciate it. So just to reiterate, Station 1, of course, is on H Street. Station 2 is in Old Town Kern.
It is. Common, everyone knows where Luigi's is. We're 2 blocks away from Luigi's.
Yeah, and serving most of East Bakersfield and Southeast Bakersfield. And 700 calls a day, or 700 calls a year, that's almost 2 calls a day.
Yeah, concurrent calls.
Concurrent calls.
Yeah, now they're running many more calls than that in general.
Right.
But they're running in that first 700 concurrent calls a
Busy
year.
stations, right?
Yes, very busy stations.
Yeah.
Some of the busiest stations in the nation.
And if we were to eliminate this unit, then again, it would require apparatus from another station to come and to respond, increasing response time, and then also taking away that resource for those surrounding neighborhoods.
That is correct.
Okay. I appreciate it. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Well, I know we're not making the final decision tonight, but I just want to express my strong support for maintaining this fire rescue unit. I guess I should say my strong opposition to eliminating the fire rescue unit. And I do want to thank Mr. McKeegan and Mr. Clegg and all those who were involved in providing some alternatives and responding to my referral. And for what it's worth, I would prioritize reducing capital project funding this year in order to maintain this fire rescue unit. I'm looking forward to hearing from my colleagues. And then the final thing I want to say is the third priority for me this year is really how do we continue to enhance the tree canopy within the city of Bakersfield. I think there have been a number of referrals and discussions on this dais, everything from the Vice Mayor's call for reducing the heat island effect in the city, to many of us who've talked about enhancing the tree canopy over the years. And I know this is an issue that's really important to so many in our community, and rightfully so. And so I would like to see us look towards this budget as a real example of how we can make meaningful investments. Thank you all.
Thank you, Councilmember Gonzalez. I don't see any other requests to speak, so Vice Mayor, receive public testimony? Okay, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, everyone, for sharing your feedback today. We're taking public testimony. I had a question. I have more to share about the trees when we get to that agenda item. Many questions. The community survey that was done, there was a pie chart shown to us. Where was that community survey conducted, or how was it conducted?
I think, Vice Mayor, Mayor and Council, that survey was conducted during our budget town hall meetings, and then we also had a online town hall that was recorded by video, and then individuals who watched that town hall could also use the same QR code to log in and to take that survey as well. And then actually we've actively had a follow-up survey that has been asking those same questions and some additional follow-up questions for the last couple of weeks.
How many people attended each budget hearing? How many did we do, and how many people attended the hearings?
It was a variety. We had some hearings that had a small number of individuals, and then some other hearings.
Can we go by ward? Like how many attended Ward 7?
Ward 7, we had 2 individuals at Ward 7.
And how about in other wards?
We had, I would say, we had 3 wards that just had a handful of people. We had 3 wards that were probably around 20 people.
And then the rest of the survey was conducted online to
Correct.
the public?
Yeah, and we've actually had a very strong response online, much stronger than the in-person town hall meetings. We had, I think the number was closer to like 60 individuals who participated in the survey from online, who didn't, participate in our town hall meetings. But then we've had more than 1,500 individuals participate in the survey since it went out more broadly through our social media contacts.
How are we implementing what was shared in the survey? Like, taking a survey is one thing, but how are we converting that into where we're spending money?
Well, I think first off, one of the good pieces of news is that much of what we're hearing back in the survey, I would argue, is fairly consistently reflected in our budgets, just as far as priorities, maybe not the percents of numbers of feedback to the precise budgets, but what community considers priority is reflected in our budget. But I think one other reflection I would share with this council is that as we stood up some of these tools and for the first time tried the town hall meetings, my recommendation for next year is to start a little bit earlier on the survey in the calendar year so that we can have more of that information earlier in the workshop process for council. But again, the feedback that we're seeing from that survey is that it's fairly reflective of what's in our budget.
And public testimony that we're hearing today is included in this is a survey of a kind, because this is a public's opportunity to give feedback on what they're seeing and hearing and also us with this very large book that we've been given today. What is, just for public knowledge, from today to when the council passes their budget, how is what you're hearing today, how are we able to implement what you're hearing from the public for those who didn't have an opportunity to come to the budget hearing? Where can this feedback go into the budget we adopt?
This feedback is for your council to consider. You have a proposed budget from staff that will be for your vote on June 24th at our next city council meeting. And if city council members, based on the feedback that was received today, want to make any revisions to the budget between now and the 24th, that's where it would come into play.
Okay, thank you. So now until the 24th, we the public, have opportunity to dictate where this budget can change, can be adjusted. My other question was to answer, I had additional questions around the flock cameras. This is a growing concern nationally, and I would like for us to dig into this. It was shared that we have 133 flock cameras. Is that correct? Is it 133?
I don't have that number handy off the top of my head, Vice Mayor. We can provide that in a follow-up to your city council. If I may, on the topic, as you've raised it, we had a prior referral from council to develop a policy, a privacy policy and an accountability policy related to flock cameras. That has taken place. It's been a little bit slow in coming back to share with the council because we ran it through our Chiefs Advisory Panel to review that policy. We ran it through the Department of Justice, through our stipulated judgment to review that policy, and those 2 steps are fairly lengthy steps. We actually have that policy back from DOJ and from our Community Advisory Board to the chief, and we're teeing it up for Safe and Healthy Neighborhoods to have a look at that policy and ultimately share that back with the council as well.
When will that be? Is there a date for when it's going to that subcommittee so that the folks who are here know when that will be?
We don't have that date. I anticipate it's going to be in 2 months because we have our Safe and Healthy Neighborhoods Committee meeting later this week, and it's not on that agenda, but we think it'll be ready for the next agenda. So we're looking at in August, and we can make sure that that's broadly shared with the community that is on that agenda.
In that privacy policy, because it is state law that local law enforcement agencies cannot share data or information with ICE, does that also cover flock cameras?
It does.
So our flock cameras do not share data with ICE, is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. When you bring that back to the Safe and Healthy Neighborhoods Committee, can I also ask that you include where each camera location is, logs of the type of data that's been covered, and also any additional public hearing systems that can be created around something that is of public concern, whether that means there is an update that comes back to the Safe and Healthy Neighborhoods Committee. Maybe that be the public forum that is created, but that update be shared there.
We can do that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Arias.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you to all the members of the public who came out and spoke on this item today. I think I too am taking some time to digest a lot of the comments and really reflect on where we are as a city and where we still need to make some significant progress. And I think the big takeaway for me is that, you know, while we've made incremental changes over the past couple of years, significant investments into MLK Park, which is still to be constructed, more dollars needed, the investments that we made on the Transformative Climate Communities grant and the pending changes that are coming through there, many investments in lighting and alleyway work. I realize it's just not enough. There were decades of frank negligence of many of our communities, many of which, you know, my colleagues and I have had to work through on an individual basis, project by project. And, you know, thankful to City Manager Clegg's efforts to both listen to the community intently, but also to create meaningful projects that, you know, work to address many of those challenges. And I agree with my colleague, Councilmember Gonzalez, that we speak in terms of projects as we try to address many of these concerns. And I suppose that is my ask of many of the community members who came out and spoke today. I think that it's one thing to speak about the challenges and the problems that we see in our community. What is it exactly that we can work together on to address many of these specific concerns? Is it specific street light improvements? What are those corridors that we still need to make progress on? Are there continued alleyway challenges? I know there are many in Ward 1. Let's lift those up and start to continue to chip away at many of those. So I just want to make myself available. I know that I've shared, you know, my contact information, but I'm happy to share it again because now is that opportunity. We have several million on the docket that is available, that is likely to be, you know, deferred because of budgetary challenges, but there's opportunity for us to make good on some of those priorities for this community. So just want to extend that opportunity to have those conversations and learn more about what we can be doing. But I want to speak in specific about a couple of items. I agree with Councilmember Gonzalez that we have to identify funding to protect this additional rescue. I think these were some of the really important investments that were made as a result of the passage of PSVS. And while we have seen significant increases in some of the staffing levels and resources made available to other departments, I would argue that the fire department did not see that same increase. And as we make cuts for our fire department, we're no longer, you know, cutting meat, but we're cutting actual bone to this department. So I think it's important that we do that, whether that be through reducing capital projects that are currently in the general fund budget, or utilizing some of the additional offset end-of-year fund balance to be able to keep that rescue. I think it's very important that we do that. I too want to share my concern about the surveillance challenges presented by the Flock system. We did push for that privacy policy to come back, and I think one thing that I'm reminded of is that, you know, policing by our law enforcement officials is based on consent. It's based on consent from the community, from the public, and that is not just earned, you know, once. It is earned every single day. I know that our chief is well aware of that and has made it a priority of his to continue to engage the public. I know that is also true for our city manager. And so I would like to ask that we engage the public. I know that we have many community advisory panels and boards and opportunities to engage with the public, and I would ask that we leverage those same avenues to be able to engage them on this topic and get their insight. I know we have an item coming up on trees, but I don't want to miss out on the opportunity to talk about the budget. And as it relates to an opportunity for us to make a significant investment for our tree canopy, several speakers underscored the fact that we have, I believe it's 0.02% coverage in Ward 1, and I think 0.07% coverage in Ward 7. I'm sure it is similar in Ward 2, and bottom line is we are not going to make a significant difference unless we change our approach entirely. And so I would like to ask that should there be additional support from my colleagues, that we consider now until the second hearing of this budget, that we consider a significant allocation to investing in the tree canopy, specifically in those wards where we do not see enough coverage or any coverage at all. And let us identify, with the help of the community, which corridors those are that do not have any tree coverage, and let's go and make a significant impact. Let's use those case studies. Let's study the heat island effect on a local scale, like Vice Mayor has talked about so many times, and let's start to chip away at those challenges. And with that, those conclude my comments.
Thank you, Councilmember Arias. Councilmember Bashir Tosh.
I had a handful of constituents reach out during break time in regards to the spay and neuter clinics. Last year, it had matching funds from private donors, and I know that wasn't proposed this year, but a lot of those, they'd reached out and asked, and we're curious about it not being in the budget this year. That affects, I mean, yeah, can you speak to that?
Yeah, two things, Councilmember, Mayor and Council. There is the same amount of operating dollars for spay-neuter that was present in last year's budget, but to your very point, Councilmember, there was an advocacy for an additional amount last year. Council made that allocation. We listed as staff that as one of the options for council to spend additional capital dollars on, not in one of the recommended projects, but sort of the menu of options for council. And so that was in that grouping that was sort of set aside as contingency for consideration. Again, that is an item that council could bring forward at next meeting for initial inclusion, or to wait in that 3 months and look at that amongst the other projects from that contingency.
How much was that allocation again?
$100,000.
Not millions, just 100,000. Okay. I mean, thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Bashir Tosh. I don't see any other requests to speak, so Vice Mayor can have receive the public testimony motion.
Motion to receive public testimony.
You have a motion. Please cast your votes.
Motion is approved with Councilmember Weir absent.
Thank you. And let's take a 10-minute break, and then we'll be back for deferred business. Madam Clerk, next item, please.
Deferred business item 10A, amendment number 1 to agreement number 2025-095 with Rancho Tree Service. A staff memorandum was provided regarding this item, transmitting correspondence.
Thank you. And Councilmember Gonzalez, I know you want to recuse yourself.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I will abstain from the following item because I received a campaign contribution, and out of an abundance of caution, I will be recusing myself from this item.
Thank you. And now City Manager Clegg.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor and Council. We'll have Keith Howell come up and provide a presentation in a few minutes about the specifics of the item itself. But I think, based on the amount of public interest and public comment on this topic, just wanted to share a little bit of bigger perspective on this topic. But I will make a clear distinction, and I think that the item that's before us tonight is fairly straightforward. This is about a contracting for tree trimming, but also because it has been a topic of such interest, wanted to just provide some clarification. First off, I would say that we have a lot of work to do as it relates to our tree canopy, as Council has acknowledged. And I think we have more work to do as it relates to even our policies around this area. But I also think it's important to be clear about the work that we have done and we are doing on this topic. I think there's a little bit of a misconception that we have not made progress in this area, that we have not moved forward with recommendations from the tree advisory group, when in fact we have. And I think there's a little bit of a false dichotomy that are we for trees or against trees in this situation? And it's, I think, a more accurate description from my perspective would be, rather than going, instead of being in a place where we did little to nothing about building our tree canopy, we've made a lot of progress, and we're being asked to become a model city in this space, and we aspire to becoming a model city in this space. That doesn't mean we haven't made significant progress, and we're in the middle of that significant progress. I think it's worth noting that the Tree Advisory Group has made a series of recommendations that have been implemented, and so let me just clarify some of those. The Tree Advisory Group asked for improved contract language and contract oversight. That has occurred. Just for clarity, and this does relate to the item that's before us tonight, the ANSI 300 regulations are required in the council contract that was approved 2 weeks ago, and it is in the contract that's being approved tonight. We've also, it was a recommendation to adjust the time frame for when we trim trees. We have agreed to that and implemented that practice. We've also adopted the Tree Advisory Group's recommended tree planting palette. We asked for feedback about what are the appropriate trees to plant. We have a new palette. We've also adopted the Tree Advisory Group recommendation requiring that a certified arborist inspect each tree prior to being removed. We've also moved forward with some requests to update our website notifications and create a public service announcement related to tree trimming. I think one of the other misconceptions is we see a lot of tree trimming around town that is done by for trees that are on private properties, and that is probably a future policy goal and consideration whether we even approach that topic. But for our contractors, we have changed those practices and policies. As it relates to just planting trees, we have planted more trees in the last year than have been removed. We have planted, in 2025, we planted 1,225 trees. In 2026, we're already up to 708 trees planted. And we have made a commitment that we will continue to plant more trees than are removed each year as a result of those trees being, dangerous or dead or problematic. As long as there's sufficient budget, we'll continue that practice. And I just will also share, you may be surprised that the only recommendation of the Tree Advisory Group that we have not moved forward with was the tree inventory and tracking software. But we are working on alternatives for that issue as referred, and we're going to bring that topic back to this council. And we're encouraged by other folks trying to start working on that inventory. We would be happy to look at the results of that start on that inventory and what it can start telling us about where we have our biggest gaps. As council directed, we're looking at wards 1, 2, and 7 to start with tree plantings. An interesting challenge we've been finding is that in some of those more older urban areas, we have very limited right-of-way. So there are very few public spaces where we can proactively plant trees that are not on private properties. So we're actually looking at potentially other alternatives like grant programs that help individuals plant trees in those areas because we don't have the same wider rights-of-way and medians as we do in some of the newer established parts of the community. And so let me just suggest we're making really important progress in this space within balance of the many competing priorities of the city. And as we work on big topics like public safety and roads and economic development, trees are absolutely getting a priority in policy and in funding that they haven't historically. In the last 3 years, we've made lots more progress in the space than we ever have before. As I stated, we have lots of work to do. We're interested and committed in doing that work, but work is happening. And at the same time, as we kind of transition over to the specific topic of the trimming, again, this contract that is before council tonight is consistent with the recommendations of the Tree Advisory Group in both the standards and the accountability, as well as the timing that we're going to be doing it in just that narrow window in the fall. And we also are going to, I think it's also important to reflect that for every request that we've had to, make serious considerations to how our tree trimming policies go, there are hundreds of mobile app requests and emails that we receive to address trees that need trimming throughout the city. And we need to make sure that we continue to have capacity to address a multitude of constituent interest that is not necessarily represented in some of the feedback that we receive at our city council meetings, but the feedback that we're getting in City Hall about where we do need to continue to see tree maintenance and tree trimming. So there's lots of wins that have come through the Tree Advisory Group, and we appreciate everybody who's participated in that, and we're glad that lots of people are passionate about this topic. I think from my perspective, as we listen to the council priorities and the community priorities, that is still in balance with the many other priorities that we continue to address as a community. So with that, I'll just ask Mr. Keith Howe to come up and clarify the numbers of what this tree trimming contract is really about and how we've made some of those budget adjustments in the last year.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. My name, as City Manager mentioned, is Keith Howell. I'm the Assistant Director of Recreation Parks. So what I would be speaking on today is what is before you is the amendment number 1 to Rancho Tree Services Agreement 2025-95. To give you a little background on this contract and where we're going is that due to the implementation of the TAG, our Tree Advisory Group recommendation of a new trimming schedule, which is shortening it up due to the bird nesting season, the department decided to have 2 contractors to provide to do the work for the tree services because we were uncertain. We did not know changing our scheduling that the workload will be able to be completed in the allotted time frame on it. So on June 11, 2025, the council approved separate $500,000 contracts with Rancho Tree Service and General Tree Service. During the competitive bid process, Rancho Tree Services was the lower bidder at $837,002. General Tree was slightly above that, a little bit over $10,000. And so we decided that the contracts will be for 2 contractors. So the original contract was for 1 year with 4 one-year additional renewals was in this contract. Now, also is that the original contract capacity of $500,000 has been fully utilized and it expires on June 10th, 2026. So Rancho has utilized all that $500,000 in the capacity of the contract. Rancho Tree Services, over the past year, has demonstrated excellent performance, consistently meeting the city's expectations for quality, responsibleness, and production. They also went to the Tree Advisory Group. They did a presentation, introduction to the whole group, and discussed the actions of the contract. Now, as going in, as our contracting funding, our available funds for fiscal year 25-26, $1 million. There was $500,000 was allocated to General Tree and $500,000 allocated to Rancho Tree Services. The contracting funding available for fiscal year 26-27 is $1 million. It's staying consistent. Now the allocation is $100,000 to General Tree and $900,000 to Rancho Tree Service. So the request is to renew Rancho Tree Service Agreement with increase of compensation by $900,000 with a new not to exceed amount of $1,400,000. And it's kind of complex how it works with the original contract and having an amendment to the contract. So the $500,000 is the original contract amount for this contract, plus the $400,000 that's getting reallocated from General Tree Services contract, which equals $900,000. Now, there was $500,000 that was spent already in the first contract year, which you add that carries over, and that's where we get the $1,400,000 not to exceed. We're requesting the increase in compensation by $900,000, which stays inconsistent with what our $1 million for the previous year. Amendment number 1 will extend the contract to June 10th, 2027. This is funded through the Recreation Parks annual operating budget within the general fund. Any questions?
Mr. Clegg, anything further?
Just one clarification. Again, the questions on how are we at $1.4 million? We're at 1.4 because there was 500,000 last year and 900,000 this coming year, but we're not increasing the total amount budgeted for this type of service. But in our transparency and our contracting process, if we amend the contract to add that second year option, it adds the 900,000 with the 500,000. That's how you get to 1.4. But it is the same amount that's been allocated last year to this year in total. We're just dividing it differently between the two vendors.
Thank you, Mr. Clegg. Colleagues request to speak. My screen's gone off, so if you just signal. Councilmember Arias.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Keith and City Manager Clegg for the presentation on this item. I do have a couple of questions. First, we had received a letter from Eddie, Mr. Lane, on May 14th, 2026, or at least that's the date at the bottom, showing a list of more than a dozen different locations where trees were removed. My first question is, were those trees removed? Is that accurate? I'm not sure if you've seen this letter, but we've got streets from Chester to White Lane, Hageman, Old River, Harris, Panama, Hosking, and so many others. And I believe it totals about 650 trees that were removed. Does that sound fair and accurate to, based on your recounting of?
The first way I would respond to that, council member, mayor, and council, is that that number sounds fair and accurate overall, based on trees that were again identified by a certified arborist that either were dead, dying, or in a dangerous condition. What we've tried to look at some of those numbers and tease out is that we do know there are some projects where we do a construction project or we do a right-of-way project, or like the Friant-Kern Canal, we had to remove some trees to lay the pathway for that new multi-use path. And our commitment is if in particular we're removing trees because of a project, we will plant the same number of trees removed project by project. The other 650, we're not necessarily making a commitment to always plant those in precisely the location that they were removed. Sometimes it may depend on whether that location is appropriate or fit for one of the trees in our new tree palette. But overall, we will replace as many and more trees that we remove. And so I just give that little bit of a caveat that there could be some project by project trees, but that 600 number is roughly consistent with our data on how many were removed by our certified arborist deeming that they needed to be. Anything to add, Keith?
Yeah, so each tree that we do through the contract it's track certified, which is a tree risk assessment qualification individual that's on their staff. And on any tree that is removed, there is documentation, also pictures of it, and explaining the reason why.
And based on your knowledge, are the large majority of them, dead trees that need to be removed, or are these, proactive removals?
Majority of the trees are dead or could be a hazard, where a huge limb fell off, and the tree is deemed that it's going to need to be removed. We do have the contractor's arborist, also along with our city arborists, all confer on each tree.
Okay, and it is this contract, to be clear, that we are discussing today that is utilized, these dollars that are utilized in order to remove the majority of those trees?
Yes.
Okay.
However, Councilmember, I would also just acknowledge that that is not the only scope of the contract. They also do regular maintenance trimming, but that is the contract used for the removals, yes, as well.
Got it. Thank you for that clarification. My next question is related to fiscal year 2025-2026. It sounds like we allocated 2 contracts, both in the amount of $500,000 for General Tree and, General Tree and the name of the other contractor is Rancho, thank you, totaling $1 million. But it sounds to me we only spent $500,000 of that money in 2025, 2026. Is that accurate?
No, because for this right here, this contract, this service agreement what we're talking about is with Rancho Tree Service Contract, which is $500,000 for them. And then we also had $500,000 that was to General Tree.
If I may, Councilmember Keith, do you have the number of how much was expended by General Tree?
I do not have that number on top of my head on the exact amount that was expended.
But it was, my point is that it was well under what they were allocated.
My understanding, Councilmember, is that because we did adjust the timing of the trimming schedule, that we did have some savings for General Tree. I don't, again, we don't have that number with us today, but there is some savings there. I don't know that it's a huge number, but I think it's somewhere in the range of less than $200,000. But that is an amount that we've looked at and considered that could be used for the plantings that were requested by council back at the tree advisory update meeting in March. So staff is looking at how to reallocate those dollars.
Right. But I see in the staff report that we had previously allocated $500,000, and we are now reducing it down to $100,000 for General Tree and moving over the excess $400,000 over to a new contracted partner.
That is correct.
So the point that I'm trying to underscore is that we only spent $500,000 in 2025 out of the total million that was allocated.
I'm sorry, Councilmember. For next year, we're reducing General Tree, but we did not reduce them from last year.
Got it. And so their allocation from the previous year was completely expended.
It was not, actually. That's what I was referencing. It was a full $500,000 allocation, but it wasn't fully expended. And so there's probably a little less than $200,000 in savings from General Tree last year that we're looking to reallocate to plantings this, but we're trying to before the end of the fiscal, and if not, that may be a carryover item.
Got it. I will leave that one alone. Bigger process question. Why have we chosen to simply amend the contract as opposed to go out to another competitive bid process? Is it that we have very few in the space who can perform the work, or?
Yeah, thank you, Councilmember. As a process question, typically when we bring a large contract forward, we will have a 3 to 5 year time frame for those contracts. It's very typical for city contracts. It helps us lock in more competitive pricing, even if you include some CPI, which we did in this instance have a CPI inflator. Typically, if you can lock those prices in for a 5-year period, you're going to do much better. And so we also, though, with a new vendor in particular, as well as it's our typical practice that we don't lock ourselves into that contract 100% over the 5 years, but we give ourselves each year the opportunity to continue that contract. And that's how it was bid. That was the bid specs, and the bid process was for a 5-year contract, 1 year with 4-year potential extensions. And so from a process standpoint, we don't believe that we would really get any better pricing by going a year later. We would be in today's dollars, not last year's dollars. And because the performance has been so good, it's like I said, it's very typical to continue with that vendor over that 3 to 5 year period, but also because the performance was so good by Rancho, it was determined that we should exercise that 1 year extension. For now, we would anticipate additional 1 year extensions in future years.
Okay. I appreciate that explanation. That's pretty typical for other competitive bid processes that we have in the city. So thank you for that explanation. I think I've answered, or you all have answered most of my questions. I think I come back to this challenge and the disconnect with the tree advisory group. The group was designed and created so that we can, create a separate channel to hear many of those public concerns. And it sounds like, for one reason or another, we still have challenges and disagreements, based on what, I hear personally, but also, here publicly. And so I would just ask that we take some time to really think about that and figure out how it is that we can improve that process and that feedback loop with the community, so that we can, address many of those concerns, continue to make progress. It sounds like we made some progress with the tree advisory group, but I think that there's still much improvement to be had. And with that, I will conclude my comments.
Thank you, Councilor Merriman. We welcome the opportunity to continue to evaluate that. I just would make one additional distinction respectfully. I don't think that the comments that we've been hearing in our public comments and city council meetings are on behalf of the tree advisory group. The tree advisory group, as a majority consensus, has been supportive of the moves that we've been making. And it's important to recognize that there are many individuals who participate in the tree advisory group meetings, but the tree advisory group membership itself, as a majority, has been supportive of each of these moves. But I think your point is still valid. If there are members and stakeholders of the community who feel like the tree advisory group process is not yielding the results that they want, that's something that we can evaluate. But I think it's important to acknowledge that there is large constituencies that feel good about this progress, and that there's a smaller constituency that is expressing a desire for something beyond, which, as I've already noted, we're interested in continuing to make that progress, but I think it's important to recognize a balance in the community feedback that we're receiving. This is not coming from, the frustration is not coming from the tree advisory group. It's coming from other stakeholders beyond the tree advisory group.
I appreciate that, if I can please make one last...
Ms. Lauer, these comments are disruptive. We've asked you not to do that. Thank you. Go ahead.
Yeah. Actually, my comment was going to be about Dr. Lauer. We met for about an hour last week, and she is a member of the tree advisory group and has expressed some dissatisfaction many times about the progress of the tag. But more and beyond that, I think that there are additional comments that deserve to be part of that discussion, and particular folks in the community that deserve to be part of that discussion. So perhaps it's a question about who is at the table, and I think that we need to expand that. And I just want to share that on Friday we will have a Safe and Healthy Neighborhoods Committee at 12 o'clock at City Hall North. And I would like to invite everybody here to come and speak. The item will not be agendized. Staff has shared that we will have a tag update in the future at the Safe and Healthy Neighborhoods Committee, but we always have public comments. I would like to welcome everybody to come and share your comments at that meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Arias. Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. Please forgive my frustration in advance. Is our Rex and Park Director here in attendance?
He is not, council member.
Okay, that's why you're filling in. Got it. Can you list the members of the TAG committee? Can you tell me who they are?
So the TAG committee is Dr. Laura, John Colick, Mark.
Who is that? What do they do?
I do not have that in front of me onto it.
Does anyone have that information?
I have that here, Vice Mayor. Mr. Carlick is the advisor for the University of California Cooperative Extension from UC Davis.
Okay. Next. Any other members?
So Dr. Yante is from CSUB. Marcus Rodriguez is from Bakersfield College. Pete Wilson is a citizen, and that he sits on the committee.
He's a former biologist. He was the gentleman who was very excited about roots and soil.
Right.
And it's Conway. He is the director of the Tree Foundation.
And I think it's worth noting that he's filling in.
General Trees, ACON. What do they do? Can you explain?
So first, let me clarify. Melissa Iger was the representative on the tag, and
she passed.
She passed, and so Conway is a tree contracting company owner but he is filling in until the Tree Foundation identifies another individual for that. And then Rich O'Neill on behalf of the Kern River Parkway.
Okay. I recall making a referral that TAG include new members from, we have someone from CSUB. Do we have anyone from Audubon of Kern?
We do not.
Okay. I'd like to make a referral that someone from the Audubon of Kern be added. Do we have a representative from Building Healthy Communities?
We do not.
Okay. I'd like to make a referral that someone from Building Healthy Communities be added to TAG. How about the Native Plant Society?
We do not.
Okay. I'd like to make a referral that someone from the Native Plant Society be added. Leadership Council?
We do not.
Kern River Parkway? We do?
We do.
Okay. So from Leadership Council, I'd like a referral to be made. I'd like to make a referral that someone from Leadership Council be added. How about Sierra Club?
Miss Lauer is a member of Sierra
That's
Club.
right. Okay. Okay, so for this tree advisory committee, we will be having new individuals that will join, right? And what can be the process by which they are added to TAG? How were the original members added, and how will these new members be added?
So the tree advisory group, we recommended to this council be an advisory group to the department director. And so we empowered the department director to identify both, I think, the size of a group that we felt like was going to be manageable and reasonable and have a good, diverse set of stakeholders. And so we identified a variety of individuals, and then they were asked to participate by the department director.
So the department director will reach out to each of these organizations to ask an individual to join in addition to the already existing members. Is that correct?
That is one possible way, Vice Mayor.
That'll be my referral for tonight, that the director reach out to members of these organizations in order to expand who is included in the TAG committee.
If I may, Vice Mayor, again, as a referral, we're happy to take that referral, but the typical process on referrals may include, coming back to council. If there's a desire to make, to provide more direction, and I would look to the city attorney if that's an actionable item tonight to make.
Do you prefer I make a motion? I know last meeting you're creating some clarity between the difference of a referral and a motion. Is that what you
correct
would? Do you need that, or can just I mean, I want to kind of just bring this to what we're talking. We're talking about people who are offering their time, their expertise, and contributing it to the city department just for the goodwill. They are sharing their free time, free expertise. They all have work, and they just want to contribute to something. And so it feels like there's been this back and forth. I think when I made the referral originally, I didn't think we would be now kind of a year and a half later still here figuring out how people are not able to give their free input on what tree trimming or what planting trees looks like in our city. And for me, on an individual level, as someone who was hoping that this is exactly what the tree advisory committee could do. And it's not just about trees. I mean, we had Nadine share about the emotional relationship that individuals have with trees that are on their properties. I mean, we all have examples of playing under trees. This is us having a really strong partnership with our community who can offer something to the city where we are clearly falling short. And that's okay, but we can bring in community members who are experts and do this on the daily. So my hope is that we can do this just through a referral. I mean, referrals come back very quickly, as was seen with some of the other things discussed today. So that's my hope. If a motion is needed, I'm happy to make it at the next meeting, but I'm hopeful we can do it just with the referral. Is that correct, City Attorney?
That is City Attorney.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, I'm comfortable with you making the referral tonight. I would agree that it does not need a motion because if I understand the city manager correctly, individuals are added to the tag based on the invitation from the Director of Rec and Parks, who falls under the auspices of the city manager. So I think a referral is enough. Now, if there's a council member here that objects to your referral, I would like to know that. And then, yes, it'll have to be scheduled as a motion for next time. But I'm not hearing your colleagues object to your referral to the city manager.
Okay, thank you. I had a couple of follow-up questions from things shared by our public, and we had probably the largest group I've ever seen in strong advocacy and in support of seeing our tree canopy expanded. How many trees did we purchase in the last fiscal year to plant? How many trees has the city of Bakersfield planted in the last year?
1,225.
We have planted those?
Correct.
Okay.
That was 2025. 2026, we've planted another 700 so far.
Where have we planted these? Is this parks? Is this roadways? Is this...
Multiple different areas, some in parks, some in rights of way, and some in developments.
Developments would be where new homes are built. Are those developers that are planting the trees, or are we planting the trees?
It's a mix.
Okay. There's a number here, 650 trees that were removed. Have we replaced all 650? So the number you're sharing today, that is separate than the 650 that were removed?
It is not. It is inclusive.
So we took out 650 trees. We put 650 back. What was the number you shared?
1,200.
1,200. So how many trees did we plant that were new trees that weren't replacing an old tree that was removed?
Yeah, by the math, it's a little less than 600.
So less than 600 trees is what we planted. New, okay. How much does one tree cost?
There's a variety of pricing. Mr. Howell knows more about that than I do.
Okay. So for a contractor to provide, install a 24-inch box tree, it's $510. For a contractor to provide, install a 15-gallon tank, I believe it's $210.
Okay, and how much does it cost to remove a tree?
There's a very wide spectrum
it's-
based on the size of the tree and the conditions around
A
the
mature tree that you shared an example of a limb fell and it's a mature tree. How much is that going to cost us to remove?
So to remove a greater than 17-inch DBH to 25-inch DBH, it's approximately $231.
To remove a tree? Okay.
And stump grind,
And the stump?
yes.
Okay. Do we have a program in the city that protects heritage trees? What is that? Could you explain that to me?
I do not know the details, but we do have that program.
So right now, that is the heritage tree protection is going through the tree advisory group. So we're in discussion is to have come up with the policy and the program on that, and then we are working it through the tree advisory group currently.
What is considered a heritage tree in the city of Bakersfield? Which ones? Which types, species?
I haven't got that paperwork in front of me. I know that Dr. Laura, she is taking the lead on that topic.
Okay. Do we have a program within our city that, I like the idea that was shared earlier about a permitting system if you are removing a mature tree? Is that within this heritage tree program?
I cannot confirm on the specifics of that.
Is anyone able to speak to it?
I do not believe it is, Councilmember.
Okay. And the ANSI A300 metric, can someone explain that just in simple terms? What does that tell us?
So that is a pruning standards, the guidelines for the contractor for the tree trimming.
What do the guidelines tell us? Like how to cut it, which
How
shape?
to cut it, how to cut it, where you're gonna cut, how to cut the limbs, trimming the foliage, making sure that you're not, scraping the bark and so forth. So it lays out the guidelines for the tree trimming.
Okay.
If I may, while we're on this topic, Vice Mayor, I made a statement earlier, and just for sake of clarification, in our contract, we have not spelled out bullet by bullet every standard within ANSI 300, but the contract states that they have to follow ANSI 300 standards. So we're referring the contractor back to those standards, but it's not listed bullet by bullet throughout the contract.
Okay. So for, like, I'm on the tree, if I'm on the tree advisory committee and that's something I know very well, I'd want to read about it in detail, what the trimming standards are, what if we are following the guidelines. Is that something we're providing the advisory committee? Or I thought, as you shared, we've like included the standards in our contracts. So is that something that we are now not doing? You said it's not bulleted.
Sorry,
How much detail do we go into?
I was just clarifying for the community interest that we're not listing long lists of standards in the contract, but we're pointing the contractors and saying, you have to follow all those standards. We're providing the standards to the contractors. It is in the contracts. It's just not enumerated bullet by bullet in the contract. We're pointing them back to the standards and saying, you have to follow all of those standards. Those standards have been provided to all of our contractors. And the Tree Advisory Committee is very familiar with those standards, as they had, presented and proposed to us that we make those our standards for our contractors. So yet they are very familiar with those standards.
Okay. I wanted to go back to the trees purchased for planting. Do we purchase them like as a city, or or whoever we're contracting with, are they purchasing them? Because according to a public records request, we've spent $0 purchasing trees. Is that true? Or where does that fall in our budget, like as a city?
I think one of the, and I'm not sure which specific public records request you're referring to, or if it was public comment, it was made earlier that there's not a line item to this topic. We purchase trees out of our operating budget, and that's why I don't see a line item specific to trees. Now, there have been some capital improvement or capital outlay budget line items that have been designated for additional trees, but we purchase trees out of our operating budgets, and so that's why you might not see it as a specific call out in the budget. But I would look to Mr. Howell as far as whether our contractors are doing some of that, or we're doing some of that. And honestly, it's a mix as well, because sometimes it comes from grants, sometimes it comes as part of a public works project. In fact, the item that's before you next has about $2.4 million worth of irrigation and trees. So we're following council direction to look for as many possible opportunities to plant trees as part of park projects, as part of street projects, and we're going after as many grants as possible in that space. And so it comes from a mix of different funding sources. But as far as who purchases those, Keith, you have more
so
information?
it's mixed. So there's some trees that we, as through our operating, that we purchase, that our staff goes down and purchases, and then also the contractor does the provide and install. Like the previous 600 trees that we planted, that was a contractor purchasing and installing the trees. There could be a tree that happened on 18th Street, got an accident, we go in, we replace that one tree, and we purchase it through our operating by our staff.
Okay. And you said that we had a savings of $200,000 in the last budget cycle for money that was not spent.
Less than, I think it was
Less
around
than.
180,000, but
Okay.
somewhere just less than 200,000.
My request is that we allocate that to purchasing new trees for planting, and that that be referred to TAG as to how the committee thinks that in working with our city department, how we can best plant those trees in the clearly the wards that need it, the areas of our city that need it, and having folks who are already looking, driving around, studying where trees are desperately needed. So I'd like to make that request. And just, I think, to wrap up my questions and my comments as well, in having made a referral about a heat island effect plan as well as a tree canopy plan, these are big words and phrases for things that just study how hot our city is and how we can work to make it cooler. I'm not saying that we aren't making progress, but it isn't in coalition with the communities that are in the community studying the trees, are working with the community members that live there in the neighborhoods that feel the hottest every single day. So it's where we're spending our money that matters. And individuals are already giving up a lot of their time to be here to advocate. They're staying as late as we are. They're doing research on their own. They're having their students create a tree inventory, something that apparently we were allocating money for. When we have a partner at a university who has students that are interested in doing this research, I think that's such a beautiful city and community partnership. We have individuals who can't vote on an item because they have received a donation from the person who is receiving this contract. I think these are questions that we need to ask as the body that governs what our public is bringing before us. And if someone was in favor of what TAG is doing, I'm not hearing from them. The people who are here today are speaking in opposition to what conversations are being had in that room. They are saying that enough progress is not being made, or that their voices simply aren't being heard. And if they are a small minority, then that extremely large majority should come and share their thoughts as well. But it is this dedicated work that comes week after week to express their thoughts to us. And we're just talking about trees. I mean, we're talking about trees here. We're talking about increasing shade in neighborhoods that desperately need it, where kids are walking home. It is going to be triple digits from tomorrow to next Thursday. And if we cannot work on this issue as a city, one of the hottest cities in the state, then we are communicating that this is not a priority for us. And we're just, whoever comes and advocates, it's falling on deaf ears if we're not actually doing something. We're spending money to trim trees where we could be spending the same money planting those trees. So we have 2 different contracts to trim trees, but there is not even one contract to plant trees. There are cities that have programs to give a tree away. There are cities that have programs where you have to get a permit in order to remove a mature tree. And that's the referral I'd like to make today as well, is we explore a permitting program that is specifically dedicated to removing a mature tree, and the city also has to abide by it as well. We do. We have to make sure that if a tree is being removed, that there is some justification to that, and it be proven through a permitting process. And that is how we're going to protect trees, because we've had room to do it. We've had community partnership. We've had people come to the table and say, we will do the research and work for you. And we haven't met that goal. So we need to put things into place now where we can promote this and actually make this a positive interaction between the community and the city. And also, I would request that we explore programs where we can give trees away to the public. I was just telling the council members that my uncle planted pomegranate trees along this public streetway, and people had pomegranate trees like year-round whenever it was in season, and the city actually removed them. So, even when communities are making efforts, sure, it's in the right of way, but it's a tree. I just think there are much more. There are things that need to be enforced, and then there's things that need to be promoted. And right now is our opportunity as a city to make a decision to make sure that we can meet the expectation and meet our community what they're requesting. So that's my hope. And I want to thank the public that advocates and spends their time. And I hope we can make some good progress after today. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I don't see any other requests on this item, so would you like to make a motion?
Motion to approve the amendment, and that amendment is a contract for, sorry, I don't see it fully on my screen.
You could just make a motion for staff recommendation.
Okay. Motion for staff's recommendation to approve this contract. Is that correct, Ginny?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
You have a motion. Please cast your votes.
Motion is approved with Vice Mayor Corr voting no and Councilmember Gonzalez abstaining.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, next item, please.
Deferred business item 10B, H Street Corridor Improvement Project.
Thank you, Councilmember. Oh, sorry.
A
Go
staff
ahead.
memorandum was provided regarding this item, transmitting correspondence in support.
Thank you. Councilmember Bashir Tosh wishes to recuse himself from this, and can you just announce the reason, please?
Yeah, I would like to recuse myself based on my proximity to the location. It wouldn't be right to discuss.
Thank you. Mr. Clegg, actually, let's just wait for 1 minute till our guests are able to get out. Thank you. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Our Public Works Director, Zach Meyer, will provide this presentation.
Can you just wait until Councilmember Bashir Tosh has a moment to leave.
Want Andre back?
Hey, you don't get to leave.
I'm sorry. Trying to do the right thing.
Go ahead.
Good evening, City Council. Zach Meyer, Public Works Director. This item was at City Council 2 weeks ago. It was deferred to tonight. So we're here to present our presentation on the H Street Corridor Enhancement Project. Some of the slides will be familiar and consistent with what you saw 2 weeks ago, but based on council comments as well as other research staff did, we came back, added some more slides to fully encompass the timeline of this project, the entire scope of the project, some other case studies related to this project that we looked at that show some of the enhancements and features that we're proposing on this corridor make sense, and this is why we're wanting to move forward with this project. So again, a project overview. So this is consistent with the Downtown Bakersfield Corridor Enhancement Master Plan. I've seen many times over council priorities and assessments on traffic safety and improving safety. These are things we've encompassed in the Multimodal Transportation Traffic Safety Committee, as well as our Complete Street Ordinance, where we're looking at other things besides vehicles, pedestrian safety, bicycle safety, other modes of transportation, and also making the area safer by enhanced traffic crossings or street lighting. So again, the project limits, it's about 2.3 miles. It goes from Highway 58 all the way up to State Route 204. Currently, south of 24th Street is 4 lanes going from 24th Street all the way down to 58. But going north of 24th Street is currently 3 lanes. So again, why slow it down? As a city, we want all members of the community to reach their travel and commute destinations in a safe and timely manner. These improvements help find a happy medium between travel efficiency and safety, as speed is directly correlated to the safety of a collision. Traffic calming is meant to establish compromise and accessibility to drivers, pedestrians, and riders. So, it's not just having cars go slower just to make it safer for the bikes. It's just for any types of potential for accidents. If vehicles are going slower, we should also see a reduction in the severity of those accidents and those collisions. So again, that brings me to Vision Zero, which is that principle in a nutshell. So it is understanding that human mistakes are inevitable, and we're trying to lower the seriousness of these crashes. And so I would say this project does follow guidelines consistent with Vision Zero. So to go into a different topic, these next few slides will focus on some of the public outreach and some of the things we've heard from the community and how it led to some of the design principles that we landed on for this project. So we have done stakeholder meetings, and we've had events to promote transparency, to gather input from the community as well as all the businesses along this corridor. So this is going back to December of 2024, where we held 3 community events. We did 3 events because this is such a long corridor. We want to give the community opportunities to speak for each section of the road. So there was one for like the south section of the project, the middle section of the project, and the north section of the project. But again, we discussed you know, the cross sections of the road, what are some of the compromising, what we'd have to compromise to add different features, and look at the overall level of service of the road. So as recently as January of this year, we did host another community event at Bakersfield High School. Staff has partnered with Blue Zone staff. We engaged with over 224 locations in this corridor. So I think one of the big takeaways is when we're talking to the businesses, they did value their parking. Parking is very important as it's limited, especially south of California. And so when we're looking at the cross section of the road, how do we maintain the parking? How do we add infrastructure that's friendly for pedestrians and cyclists? And so all this information pointed us to we should take away one of the travel lanes, reduce it from 4 lanes to 3 lanes, where we'll have a left center lane instead of 4 through lanes. So again, why 8th Street? All the bullets you see on the left, I'll probably cover those in more detail in some of the later slides because we have more examples of some of these items. But in the gray text, you'll see just with the collision data and some of the BPD data, we have seen you know, all types of accidents in this corridor, whether it's vehicle to vehicle, vehicle to bicycle, vehicle to pedestrian. The 2 things I'd highlight is, you know, we do see in the last 5 years there were 2 fatalities, one on a bicycle, one with a pedestrian. So again, we do see this as an area where traffic safety can be used to enhance this area. So we do believe 3 lanes, you know, is it safer? So when we take away this lane, this is also known as a road diet. So what we understand is, you know, on a 4-lane road, vehicles consistently weave between lanes to bypass cars waiting to turn left. So currently, if there's a car in the number 1 lane making a left, cars are already doing this behavior where they're trying to move from that lane to the other lane to get around it. This creates additional conflicts. This would also potentially reduce speeds. So again, reducing not just the speed, but the severity of potential accidents. And also making it easier for pedestrian crossings. If we limit the number of lanes where there's cars, that shortens the distances that when pedestrians are crossing the street, there's less conflict zones for the pedestrian. So as far as traffic, there is concerns about taking away the lane. It's going to make everything go into gridlock. Well, that's not necessarily true. In many cases show that traffic volumes stay the same or even increase after a 3-lane road conversion. One of the reasons why is the example I alluded to earlier. You know, some of the behaviors with the 4-lane versus a 3-lane are already consistent, where motorists are already trying to avoid those lanes where cars may come to a complete stop to wait their turn to make a left or a right. In addition, based on the total volumes and other case studies we've seen, when you have traffic corridors like this where there's traffic counts less than 15,000 per day, which this section is less than 15,000, you know, we don't see too much negative impact. I'd like to talk more about the timeline of this project. As you could see on the top, this started back in 2022 when staff went out for local support to apply for ATP applications. This had to get discussed through the Planning Commission. That was done so in 2022 and 2024. Council has approved our design consultant agreements because this design was outsourced. We also had our CMAQ application resolution and local support. That was in 2023. And in October 8, 2024, this project and these design features were presented to our Multimodal and Traffic Safety Committee. So this has been cooking for, I guess, just over 4 years now since our first item. So this is something that staff has been working on for some time and has had come to council in different capacities for approval and for council consideration to move forward in different aspects of the project. For the funding, so the base bid is around 14.3 million. What we're showing here is our active transportation program. We received $3 million. And then for our CMAQ program, we received 11 million. A lot of this money is here for us for this project, primarily because of some of the multimodal features we're implementing with the bike lanes, with the bulb outs, to help pedestrians cross and make these safety features on the corridor. There is a local match as we spend these funds that, for every $100 of this money we pay the contractor, we have to use $15 of local dollars, give or take. So there will be another $2.6 to $2.7 million of local dollars that will go into this fund as we administer these funds. However, any savings we have on the left after the end of the project that come from these funding sources, we will work with the agencies that administer those funds and see if we can reallocate it to another project. One thing I didn't highlight, but I just wanted to share with the council in terms of what are you getting with this 14.3 million. So for mobilization and demolition work, it's about 1.7 million. For paving, and that includes any of the asphalt stripping, resurfacing the asphalt, as well as the traffic striping, that's about 4.2 million of this 14 million. The work related for concrete work, which includes curb, gutter, bulb outs, and also storm and sewer improvements, that's about 2.6 million. For landscape and irrigation improvements, a city manager already alluded to, there's 2.4 million going in this corridor for trees and irrigation system. Streetlights, which is, in my opinion, much needed in this corridor, there's 1.8 million that will be spent on this project for streetlights. And traffic signal modifications and rectangular rapid flashing beacons, it's 1.4 million. That's about 95% of the cost for this project and how these features will be put out. We discussed this, I won't spend too much time on this, but we discussed this 2 weeks ago. We are going to try to break this into 4 phases. So the idea here is, the contractor works in one section and can't move on to the next one until they complete that work. That way we're not seeing traffic control going through the whole 2.3 miles. It'll be section by section by section, so we're not impacting the entire community for the better part of a year. It'll be in phases. So again, these are some slides that was presented to the council 2 weeks ago. So some of the design features is the 3-lane cross-section or plan view that you see in the top left. Our rectangular rapid flashing beacons you see in the top right. Bottom left is an example of bulb outs, and then in the bottom right is a brand new green bike lane. Also, from going left to right, we're also adding street lights, resurfacing, keeping parking in the corridor, and adding landscape and beautification to the project. So in the picture on the right, again, just a snapshot of seeing these things what we'll see on this project. We'll have a buffered sidewalk, a 6-inch bike lane with 10-inch striping. That bike lane varies where we are in this picture. It's 6 feet. Reduced travel lanes down to 10 feet. There's actually quite a bit of travel lanes already on this corridor that's 10 feet. The 2-way center turn lane, as well as improving the sight lines and turning radiuses at the intersections. So these are some examples that are new to the presentation. So this is an example in Venice, Florida, where they added bulb outs in the section. And the thing to highlight is went from a 58 distance for the pedestrian to cross down to 32. I'm not sure I'll be this drastic in our project, but again, that's the intent of the bulb out, is limiting the conflicts with the pedestrian and the vehicles. This is a project, you can see the before and after in West Lancaster Boulevard Road in Lancaster, California, where they went from 4 lanes to 2 lanes. But you can see the bomb, 2 bullets, collisions fell by 1/3, injuries fell by 2/3. So again, it's a project that prioritizes safety over the travel lanes. This is another one in Orlando, Florida, where 1.6 miles were converted from 4 lanes to 3 lanes. And again, they saw their crash rate cut in half. And then they also added bike lanes. So again, very similar to the project we're proposing. And our last slide is, again, it's another before and after where you could see the change in the road. But what you saw on some of the other slides is it could also potentially enhance the community as well as raise the economic value in the area, as with the street lights, the trees, the overall beautification, that we could see property go up. And so with that, I'm here with some of my staff to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Meyer. City Manager, would you like to add anything before we go to council?
No, Mayor, thank you.
Thank you. Colleagues? Councilmember Arias.
Thank you, Mayor. This is such an important project. As you're providing your presentation, I was reminded of the fact that I had somebody who worked in the building that I worked in about a year and a half ago, who was walking in the crosswalk right there on 8th Street, downtown Bakersfield, next to the old Bitwise building, whose life was completely altered because of an accident. She had, the green light to be able to walk across the street. She was utilizing the crosswalk properly, and she still was, her life again was completely altered because of dangerous driving and speeding along the corridor. And I'm just reminded of the fact that there are many other stories like that throughout the city of Bakersfield, and it's time that we make the change that is so desperately needed along this corridor. So I want to thank you, Zach, and thank you to your staff for moving this along. I'm looking forward to seeing the different phases go into implementation. We've been talking about this for so many years, but just want to say thank you for getting this across the finish line.
Thank you, Councilmember Arias. Councilmember Smith.
Thank you, Mary. Yeah, I would just reinforce what Councilmember Arias said, an important project, and appreciate staff working on it. And, safety is a priority for the city of Bakersfield, and it's not just about pedestrian and bicycle safety, although that is a priority, but it's also about traffic safety. You mentioned 319 total collisions over 5 years, and that's a lot of problems for a lot of people. So really appreciate the efforts, and a lot of trees being planted, a lot of good things all the way around. So appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Smith. Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you to the community members as well as city staff that have worked together to design this street. Over the course of my own adult life, I've seen 8th Street change and transform in how it's used, and therefore how the street looks, feels, and functions should also change accordingly. And the example from the city of Lancaster is actually a precedent study that's used even in city planning school that we see, where a city that you don't expect that is becoming more pedestrian friendly, more pedestrian oriented, but also just is adapting to how individuals and community members already use a corridor. And when I saw Lancaster when I was in grad school, I'm like, this is right up the way from where I'm from. So I was very happy to see that example and to see that we are also using it here, because of course, if Lancaster can do it, we can do it, and Bakersfield can become that precedent. I hope this project becomes a precedent study for other parts of our city as well. I call them our city suburbs, but both in looking at the precedent of this, I see so much opportunity for this to become an example for us to utilize in other corridors across the city. So I am very optimistic and am glad to see this come online, and am really looking forward to using an 8th Street that looks and feels very different and is actually responsive to how people are already using it, so everyone in the roadway can feel safe. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Councilmember Gonzalez.
Thank you. Thank you, staff, for the presentation tonight, and also thank you for all of the efforts to reach out to my constituents and to all of the stakeholders along the 8th Street corridor. I think there's been a number of community meetings and a lot of productive conversations, tough conversations that I've been part of with folks who had really serious concerns and questions about the design. But my hat's off to staff for working with all those stakeholders and trying to address their specific concerns on specific blocks, which I think is really important to make this project optimal for all parties, all stakeholders. So thank you so much for that. I love the fact that we're addressing that left turn situation, that unprotected left turn across 2 lanes of traffic. When pedestrians have the right of way to cross the street, it makes a terrible condition, a very hazardous condition for all road users. And so I'm looking forward to making some improvements there. And the last question I have is regarding the undercrossing at the rail cross between California and Truxton. We talked about a lot of lighting improvements, and that's really important. I want to ensure that we will be upgrading the lighting along that undercrossing as well as part of this project.
I'm gonna phone a friend. This is Paul Archer, Assistant Public Works Director.
In part, I'll be walking home tonight, and I'm going to be using that crossing. And so,
thank you, Mayor, Councilmember Gonzalez.
Yeah.
We will be improving lighting through there. There's a little bit of some extra hoops that we have to jump through in working with the railroad. So I don't think it'll be on this project, but we are improving the lighting underneath there on a later date. So
perfect. Then with that, I'll make the motion to accept staff's bid and approval of the contract.
Thank you, Councilmember Gonzalez. Councilmember Coleman.
Thank you, Mayor. I walked this whole section of road between 58 and California, both directions, and from Truxton to 24th Street in both directions. I see those 2 roads as significantly different. The area between California and Brundage, I might have said that wrong. The area between Brundage and California is different than the section between Truxton and 24th. And I'm not sure that you can apply the same standards to both. I'm especially concerned about the area downtown from Truxton to 24th Street. And I realize that you want to try to eliminate the left turn obstacle, but what provision are you going to include to prevent the right lane from being the obstacle? Because right now you say that traffic traveling on H Street, if they're making a left, they stop to make the left and they have to wait. So the person behind them darts out into the right lane and causes an accident with the person. But aren't you going to have the same problem with only having 1 lane, that every time somebody wants to make a right turn, it can't? Is going to back up the traffic on that section of the street?
Thank you, Councilmember Coleman. I might have Paul help me with this one as well, but just from my perspective too, cars, I think, wait longer when they're having to make that left because they're waiting for more traffic to clear doing that left, making that right. It's just a matter of, for that flow going perpendicular to it to clear up. So there could still be that delay, but it's not as drastic as the left turn delay. And I know.
Will you be installing right turn lanes? Are you going to take away a parking stall or 2 at the corners to allow that right turn lane?
Mayor, Councilmember Coleman, we will be installing right turn lanes at California Avenue and Truxton Avenue and Brundage Lane. Currently, there are no right turn lanes, in 23rd and 24th. Currently, there are no right turn lanes anywhere else on the corridor, so that condition is, in general, staying the same as it currently is. We did see the need, especially between Truxton and California, to ensure that we had the 4 lanes continue through on that small segment, specifically near BHS. That has a lot of traffic in the morning and in the afternoon. And we determined that adding the right lanes, adding basically the trap right, heading southbound onto California and heading northbound onto Truxton was going to alleviate some of that congestion that a potential reduction in lanes could have caused. But in general, there's no change in terms of the ability for people to turn right after this project as there is now. Did I say that clearly enough?
Yeah, you say you're not changing that.
Correct, okay.
What about, and I always use this term incorrectly, but the intuitive traffic lights. And you guys use a different term for that than I use, but is there any plan to install traffic lights that, that learn and manage the traffic automatically for peak hours and that kind of thing?
I can speak to this a little bit. So H Street currently has adaptive signals along the entire corridor, oddly enough, because our previous city manager lived along H and took it all the way down to his house. So we have adaptive signals all the way down H Street, which I think makes sense for that corridor with people from the downtown area utilizing it on a regular basis. So,
all right.
One more thing I'd like to add is, in similar examples, like let's take Buena Vista, for example. After the project was completed, we continue to monitor the traffic signal timing, the coordination between Buena Vista and Stockdale going down the River Run. There was an additional work in progress that staff did to improve some of the timing to make that function better. And I would say for this project, given the gravity of reducing the lane, that staff will make that same commitment on this project after the fact.
All right. Okay. So I'll just conclude that, our duty on the city council is to, I think one of our top duties is to maintain and improve our roads. And so this project, I have issues with the project, but there's a lot of good things about this project. The street lights, the trees, like I said, I walked this whole section of road and it needs street lights, it needs landscape improvements, it needs trees, and certainly can use the refinishing of the road. The fact that we're going to get the large lion's share of this through grants that we would otherwise not be able to enjoy certainly speaks to our budget crisis. And, we don't have $13 million to spend on it ourselves right now. So I'm hesitant to give up a investment or a grant opportunity. But I just would express some caution, especially south of Truxton to 24th Street. I'm just very, very concerned about that. I think it'll work out fine, the rest of H Street, but I'm just really worried about downtown. I drive that all the time, and I'm just not sure going down in one lane either direction is going to really allow traffic to move through there. I guess we'll find out. I'll defer to the council member whose ward this is.
Thank you, Councilmember Coleman. I don't see any other requests to speak. You have a motion on staff's recommendation. Please cast your votes.
Motion is approved with Councilmember Weir voting no and Councilmember Bashir Tosh abstaining.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Next item, please. Can you clear my screen too, please? Thanks.
Council and Mayor's statements.
Request to speak, colleagues. Vice Mayor.
Thank you. I'll be brief. This is a personal statement, but tonight my partner is graduating from his cancer fellowship in Utah, and I am not there, but I just wanted to wish him a congratulations. And civic duty calls, but he will be coming back to California to serve our communities here and provide oncology and hematology care here. So, yeah, sorry for missing your graduation.
Thank you. adults ages 60 plus lost $7.7 billion last year through scams and fraud. That's a 59% increase. And this issue is rapidly growing. I had the opportunity this last week in Long Beach for the U.S. Conference of Mayors to highlight that on a panel. I want to thank Bakersfield Police Department, our district attorneys, Kern County Aging and Adults for what they're doing on this. We as mayors throughout the United States need to elevate this issue. You know the sophistication of scammers these days, but what we have to keep doing is sending trusted messengers and repeating the admonition to slow down, to hang up the phone, and to talk to trusted people. So I am making that commitment. Wells Fargo will make an investment in our community to provide resources so that we can get this word out. I'm very grateful to them and grateful for the U.S. Conference of Mayors for highlighting that issue. And just to let you also know, I have the opportunity now to be appointed as one of 6 mayors on the advisory council. So getting to represent Bakersfield and our state also gives us that additional voice throughout the United States. Thank you to all. Thank you to our public for your participation in tonight's dialogue, and we stand adjourned at 9:20.